This meeting is being recorded.
Right. Looks like we have everybody, including Jack's nemesis. So that'll be interesting to see what happens with that. Let's get the, let's call this to order. It is 7:03, and we'll call to order this edition of the Norton Select Board. It is Thursday, April 29th. Let the record show that all 5 members are present, including Town Manager Michael Units and special guest, former Select Board member Brad Bramwell. Nice to see everybody here tonight. Let me see. I'm running a little ragged today, so I don't have my agenda pulled up quite yet. Just give me one moment, and we can get right into the fun. Do we have anybody that is interested in making a public comment before we go through? It's a new segment of our meetings to try to be able to hear from folks in the community about anything they might want to say that may not necessarily be on the agenda this evening. Scrolling around, not seeing anything, so we'll jump into our appointments. First up is the reappointment of Janet O'Reilly as a constable.
So Janet is currently a constable in town. She's been a constable for a number of years, and her appointment ends tomorrow. So looking for a reappointment.
So, any questions about this reappointment? Can I ask what a constable does?
Well, a constable posts the warrant for one, and a constable, I know Attorney Rich would probably know better than me, but a constable can issue different papers to people in town.
Okay. Excellent. Seeing no further discussion, Chair would entertain a motion to reappoint Janet O'Reilly as a constable.
So moved.
Seconded.
All right, motion in a couple of seconds. Christine?
Yes.
Meg?
Yes.
Michael?
Aye.
Renee?
Yes.
And I too say yes. Congratulations, Janet. Next up is another constable, the reappointment of Michael Meyer Sr. as constable.
And the same, Michael's been a constable for a number of years, and always is very helpful to us. And his appointment would end tomorrow also.
All right. Excellent. Well, without further ado, Chair will entertain a motion to reappoint Michael Meyer Sr. as a constable.
So moved.
Okay, motion in a second. Christine?
Yes.
Meg?
Yes.
Michael?
Aye.
Renee?
Yes.
And I too am a yes. Congratulations, Michael.
Jack, before we move on, if I can ask a question?
Certainly.
Mike, in the situation for constables, is there a way that we get them on opposite terms? So specifically for this, right, if we didn't have the meeting or didn't get them reappointed and we had to post the town meeting,
Yeah.
it could potentially be some issue?
Yeah, we have 5 constable positions, so
Okay.
they are alternate.
Okay, perfect. So it's not like it's just these 2 and they both expire in the same term.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Moving on, we have the appointment of Melanie, is it Toll? As part-time Director of Parks and Rec.
Would you like me to read the appointment?
Please do, Michael, thank you.
To the Select Board from Michael Units, Town Manager, April 27, 2021. Notice of appointment of part-time Director of Parks and Recreation. I hereby notify the Select Board that in accordance with the provisions of Article 4, Section 2B with the Norton Charter, acting in the capacity as appointing authority, I have appointed the following individual as part-time Director of Parks and Recreation: Melanie Towel, is it Towel?
It's Toll.
Melanie Toll. Said appointment was made on April 27, 2021 in accordance with the provisions of the Norton Charter and will be effective May 12, 2021, unless the select board votes to accept or reject the appointment prior to that date. I specifically request the board's acceptance of this appointment with effective date of May 3rd, 2021. Please advise me if any questions, Michael Unions.
All right,
Chairman?
please go ahead, Michael. Yeah.
Yeah, we're very fortunate to have a lot of talented people in Norton, and Melanie came forward. And Melanie has, well, she's a volunteer with NEMA, which is, you may have seen her working with them. Melanie has 28 years of experience in youth camps. And currently, Melanie works in the youth after-school program for the city of Attleboro. So we're excited to have Melanie come forward and looking forward to her taking on the role of recreation director.
Excellent.
And Melanie is on, Jack.
Yes, I see her on. Thank you, Melanie, for your interest, and open it up to the board for any questions before we go to the motions.
So Jack, I'm sorry, I had some audio problems, so I missed her background, what Mike had said. Maybe Mike, rather than have you repeat that, maybe if Melanie would just like to tell us a little bit about her background and then why she was interested in this position.
Okay.
Should I just jump in, or is there an order?
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
there's,
No,
we
please
play
go ahead.
fast and loose here, Melanie.
Great. I have lived in town for about 15, almost 16 years. I appreciate the town of Norton. I'm grateful for the opportunity to serve the community through my involvement with emergency management. But my passion really is in outdoor recreational and educational programs. I have significant experience. It's really actually closer to 30 years of experience in camping, and mostly at one camp. 25 of those years was at one camp, and I've done some consulting. I'm actively involved with the American Camp Association, and I'm a big camp supporter, but Parks and Recreation definitely is a close cousin to the camping industry. A lot of our purposes are the same. And I have been working for the Recreation Department in the city of Attleboro for 3 years now. And I very much enjoy that work, but I was excited to see the opportunity here in my own hometown to do some work and make a contribution where I live. I think that's kind of excited. Community, I think, is very important, and that's why I threw my name in the hat.
That's great. Thank you, Melanie. And there is one requirement that Mike probably didn't tell you about. For the Halloween parade, are you willing to dress up?
Oh, sure.
Okay, perfect.
Does that mean I get to ride on the fire engine instead of driving one of the NEMA trucks?
I think so. Yeah,
That can be arranged, yeah.
yeah. Excellent. Well, happy to have you here. Thank you so much for being interested and looking forward to working with you.
Likewise.
Anybody else have any questions for Melanie? For my part, it's really exciting to have you on board, Melanie. Thank you very much for your interest. I think it always adds a little something extra when the person in this position lives in town. So really excited to see what you can do. You do have some pretty big shoes to fill from the former director, and I'm really excited to see what you do and looking forward to support you in anything that you want to take on.
Thank you so much.
All right. That said, Chair, I entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Melanie Toll as part-time Director of Parks and Recreation.
Move.
Motion and a second. Christine?
Yes.
Meg?
Yes.
Michael?
Aye.
Renee?
Yes.
And I too am a yes. Welcome aboard, Melanie, and best of luck to you. All right. Unless there's anyone else that slipped in under the radar, Mike, I believe that's done. That's it for appointments tonight.
That is.
And we can jump to licenses and permits, first of which is a review and approve the amendment to the common vic and alcohol licenses for outdoor seating to serve food and or alcohol for Team Norton Inc. DBA Fiesta Mexican Restaurant located at 175 Mansfield Ave. Sounds like they're looking to add some outdoor seating. I think it's a great idea.
They are, and if I could, Mr. Chairman, the fire department and the building commissioner have been down to visit them to see where they're putting the seating, and they're on board with it. They had no issues.
Mike, is there somebody that can explain that seating? I'm looking on it on page
Yep.
9 of what Jen had sent us, and I just,
Yep, so they out front on the patio, they will not be in the parking lot. The concrete area out front, they'll be putting seats out there in front of their restaurant. It's a 43 by 10 foot area, and they'll be able to seat, I believe it's 24 people out in that area.
okay, and there's some fencing on here.
Yeah, the fire department reviewed that with them to make sure there was a separation from the roadway, and also to restrict people from just walking directly into a table without checking in first.
Okay.
So Mike, is there enough passage through that area? I don't know what we need to provide in terms of ADA accessibility through that.
That was one of my concerns too, and that's why I had the building commissioner go down, and he said he did not see any issues.
Okay, so the drawing's not to scale.
No.
Okay. Yeah. Any other questions?
I don't have any questions, just a comment. It's I'm happy to see this, especially, obviously with COVID. I remember talking to them early on in the process about doing this because they have that nice overhang outside the building. And it's Mike, to your point, it's a pretty wide space with the 2 different doors, even though I think they only use one of them. So
yeah.
This is great. I think people will like it. Every time I go in that parking lot, it looks like between Fiesta and folks working out that it's pretty busy. So it's great to keep the business going.
And we did inform them that this is for the emergency, so if this was something that they decided they wanted to continue with after the emergency, they would have to apply for a change of premises.
Okay.
Do we know when that emergency order is set to expire at this point?
We don't. Right now, I'm anticipating August 1st, but I'm not sure. The governor had kind of hedged a little bit today when he said, well, if our vaccination numbers keep going up, we may be able to open everything up sooner than that. So.
And Mike, is it his emergency order or the emergency order that we declared?
The governor's emergency
Okay.
order allowing outside seating for establishments with liquor licenses.
Okay. And how difficult would it be if they chose to, or let me ask this, not how difficult, but what additional requirements would need to be met if they wanted to continue it beyond the order?
It would just require them to come before the board for a public hearing, and then send that to the ABCC.
Okay. This board, not the planning board?
Right, yep.
Okay.
And the ABCC, I would think, understands the people have become accustomed to the outside seating, so I'm assuming they're processing these pretty quick.
Great, thank you.
So knowing Jen and how organized and how much foresight she has, I'm sure she's keeping a running list of the folks that have these temporary seating permits, so that when the order does get set to expire, we can proactively schedule these folks out.
Yes, I have a folder kept of everyone that's applied to do so.
See, that's why you're great. Thank you. Yeah, I think this adds such nice ambiance and is a great thing to try to support the local businesses. So I would encourage anyone else out there that is looking to do so to please reach out. Happy to support. All right. Excellent. So Chair would entertain a motion to approve let me pull up the language, apologize. Oh God. Approve the amendment to the common vic and alcohol license for outdoor seating to serve food and or alcohol for Fiesta Mexican Restaurant located at 175 Mansfield Ave.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Seeing no further discussion, we'll go to the vote. Christine?
Yes.
Meg?
Yes.
Michael?
Aye.
Renee?
Yes.
And I too vote yes. So, thanks everybody. And that brings us to our next license permit, which is a vote to approve the mobile food truck permit and common vic license for Fork and Bib. And I see we have the proprietor, Jason Dell, on in case there's any questions for that. I believe this is Mike or Michael, do you want to talk us through?
Yep, this would be in the same area where they were previously, down by the town common. And they will have a trash can available by the truck for any waste. And they'll remove it after, at the end of the day. And they'll take that with them off site. And they'll be operating 11:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m.
And it keeps added signs for the railings. They've made, there were some suggestions made from some individuals about the common, and they've made some suggestions. I'll let Jason speak to that if he wants, about like not leaning on the fence and so forth. I think that was a request of the Historical Commission.
They can.
No, because it has a glare on it, so we've asked him a question.
Yeah,
Jason's
so-
trying to share this sign. Yep. Go ahead, Jason.
So we actually, we got the email today from Signs by Tomorrow with the prints on it. So they're just, as soon as we send them over, they're gonna print it up. We have 2 of them we're gonna put out on like a Velcro for the actual fence that we put up right before we open, and then we just take down. And again, they're Velcro, so they, it's not gonna damage anything. And then we have another sign being built. It's gonna be on the truck in front of a trash bin, and it says, please discard all trash in here, not on the common, thank you.
You also have some events coming up, is that what I understand, Jason?
Yeah, so we have, our first 3 events we have booked, we're doing for teacher appreciation for all 3 of the schools.
Oh, that's great.
And Mike, there's no issue with that. He's able to go ahead and do that. We're good to go.
Yes.
Excellent. Wonderful. Any other questions from members of the board?
Jack, I don't have a question for this, but if we can just note to get this document updated, specifically the rules and regulations governing takeout food served by mobile food vendors has a date of 2016 on it, references to the Board of Selectmen and former select board members. So if we can just get that updated so that's available to applicants.
All right. Sounds good. Seeing no other comments, Chair would entertain a motion to approve the mobile food truck permit and common vic license for Fork and Bib.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Motion, 2 seconds. Christine?
Yes.
Meg?
Yes.
Michael?
Aye.
Renee?
Yes.
And I too say yes. All right, best of luck, Jason.
Thank you so much.
Jason?
All right. Michael, are there any announcements to share this evening?
Give me 1 second, Jack. Much like you, I was rushing around. Hold on 1 second. I've stopped printing out the agenda packets.
Coming into the age of technology, Michael, huh?
Yeah, well, okay, sure.
I don't see any in the
I
packet
know
if that helps.
there are none in our packets, so
Okay.
point them up, Jeff.
As a fun thing, we should see how many trees we've saved by not printing out 5 copies of a 50 to 100 page packet for the past 13 months.
And how much
That's a lot.
time we've saved Jen from doing that, having to pick them up, put them in boxes.
I will admit, Michael, I think this is the first meeting I didn't print out a hard copy.
Look at you guys.
And I didn't,
Wow.
but I haven't had to been told to unmute tonight, so I'm
So,
catching
you
up.
know,
Mike, the night is young.
Plenty of time. Plenty of time.
Hey,
Mr.
hey, Jack,
Chairman, I just wanted to point out, just correct something. You said this is why Jen is great. I just want to make sure there's a whole lot more why Jen is great as one. And it sounded like Mr. Dahl's signs, his signs were going to be ready in 2 days. I think that's what he said. So I'm a little confused with that, but we'll just keep moving on.
Very good. And yes, there are many reasons that that Jen is great at what she does for us. So, all right. Moving into new business. First item up is
hey, Jack.
Hey, Renee.
I'd like to ask if we could take some items out of order, because we have quite a bit of people on here for items under old business
Sure.
that maybe we can address and cut them loose before we get into some of our, like our longer items or just our board work.
Sure. We can housekeep later on. Absolutely. You just want to jump to old business straight away and just take them one by one, or is there a particular one you want to start first?
I mean, I see the folks on from 9 Lives. I see,
South Worcester.
yep, South Worcester. And am I missing? I might be missing one. So your choice.
All right. Well, I like some semblance of order, so we'll just take them as they're listed. So the first one would be discussion on South Worcester street traffic vis-a-vis home market foods. So I see we have some of the residents on. I assume we have a few other folks, Mike.
Yes, you have attorney Dan Rich on representing Spirit.
Thank you for joining us tonight, Attorney Rich.
Yes, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, sir.
Very good.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Can you hear us?
Oh, I can. It started to get mackled, but I can hear you.
All right. So, Mike, why don't you let us know where we are at? I think we're about maybe a month or so, 3 weeks since this last kind of came up as a hot topic in town.
Mm-hmm.
What's been done? I know Attorney Rich is here from Spirit. They're one of the vendors that use that property.
And Chief Clark is on, and he can just update you on what they have done from the police department.
Good evening, everyone.
Evening, Chief.
Yeah, Chief.
So we continue, our daily patrols of the area on a regular basis. It's a regular routine patrol. I did speak with Attorney Rich a few days ago, and I gave him an overview of what's transpired. I believe he sent a letter to Mr. Noble to get together. It sounds like Mr. Rich has some items that Spirit would want to talk about related to what they expect from drivers and such. So if it's okay, I think Mr. Rich would want to give that update.
Great.
Yes.
But perhaps before you do that, Attorney Rich, I'd be interested to hear what Spirit understands to be the issues that they're facing or that the town is facing.
Well, I talked to several of the neighbors that were concerned. It seems like there are several issues. Trucks speeding on South Worcester Street, trucks not following the route that was proposed when on South Worcester Street, that they were throwing trash, they were urinating outside, they were just not being nice neighbors to the people that live across the street and along the way. But I think the most important is the traffic. I talked to Ms. Schneider, I talked to Mr. Noble. They're talking about that the trucks were speeding. They were talking about the trucks that were not paying attention to the road signs. And it's not all of Spirit's trucks, but Spirit has quite a few box trucks that use that facility. So the council, the New York Council for Spirit called me, and they felt that they had a local attorney talk with these people and see if we can come up with some kind of resolution. And I've been in touch with not only the council for Spirit, the council for the landlord, and then some of these people, I did talk with Chief Keen, I did talk with Mr. Eunice. So his devised the policy for its drivers, which they're going to implement. I did send a letter, and some of the things are beyond our control, but the things mostly that they're going to do is they're going to try and control their truck drivers to follow the signs that are posted. I sent a letter to the town board today. I can go through them one by one if you want. If Mr. Eunice has the letter, he can do that also, whichever is your pleasure on that. But they intend to obviously get all their drivers the new information. They're making them sign an addendum to their contracts that pretty much say what I'm just saying right now. They have to be respectful to the neighbors. They have to drive with courtesy. They have to follow all the signs. They have to follow all the street signs, and they just have to drive it up. Because South Worcester Street is such a small street, and that's a big facility there, they're going to be put on notice at any time that they do violate this, or any time that Spirit hears that they're not following their procedures, they're going to either reprimand them or they possibly may terminate their services. See, these drivers are independent contractors, so they're not their employees. But they do have some say over if they're going to renew their contracts or not. I've listed the items where I think that the town will need some help with the town, and that I tried to call Mr. Silva and I didn't get through to him. They're not very extensive changes that we can do. Some of the things obviously are beyond our control. Some of the neighbors would have liked to see the trucks exit the gate next to Woodard Street, but my client Spirit has no control over that. That's between the town, the safety officer, and the landlord. So, but the other things that the other items that most of the tenants were complaining about, the trucks speeding, the trucks being on parts of South Worcester Street when they didn't need to be, and I've outlined them in my letter to Mr. Muir and sent to the board.
Okay. Mike, do you have a copy of that letter that you can maybe share on the screen?
Was that an email that you sent that to me?
Yes, we emailed say. If not, there are only 5 or 6 things. I can read them.
I just checked my email. I don't see it.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, Attorney Rich, I think that would be great.
Yeah, I can actually read it. Yeah, okay, what they're gonna do, the first thing is any trucks that exit the facility, which I call the warehouse, has to exit to the left and access John Scott Boulevard from South Worcester Street. They're not to go to the right. Now, there is a sign posted, no right turn, but some of the trucks were still taking the right turn. So all the drivers that drive for Spirit are told to comply with that sign. When they leave the facility, they exit to John Scott Boulevard by taking a left and not taking a right. They're going to instruct their drivers that they can't use Woodard Street. It's posted at the beginning of Woodard Street at South Worcester Street. No trucks are supposed to use it, but I'm told that several trucks still use it. Norton, and I'll have to talk more with the highway department, there probably should be a sign on 140 in Woodard Street instructing drivers not to use Woodard Street to go back to the warehouse. Okay. And now, if the drivers are coming from South Worcester Street on the 123 area, as they approach John Scott Boulevard, they're not to take a left on South Worcester, but to proceed straight on to John Scott Boulevard. I talked to Ms. Schneider and she told me that when Cisco was there, they had signs that were posted just before that, instructing the drivers to go straight to John Scott Boulevard. Spirit said they would gladly put up the same type of signs, instructing their drivers, when they come to John Scott Boulevard, not to take a left, but to go straight onto John Scott Boulevard and to go all the way down to South Worcester Street. They're not to use or take a shortcut on Parker Court, and if they're coming from 140 and they go on to Eddy, they're not to take a shortcut through, I believe it's Jackson Street. They're also told them that they have to, again, follow all the signs, follow all the rules of the road, especially when they're on that strip from John Scott Boulevard and that short strip on South Worcester Street until they get back to the facility. And I think that, and I'm not sure that if I did mail they're making them sign an addendum that's gonna, and I'll just read them really quick. They're gonna be part of their contract. And this is obviously just for Spirit drivers, because I know there are other drivers that use that facility. They don't have tractor trailers or semis, they only have the box trucks. But they want them to follow all rules. There's no speeding, while on the warehouse property. They're not to consume alcohol, they're not to smoke, they're not to urinate with public decency. I guess my understanding is some of the drivers were just getting out of their trucks and urinating. They're not to yell, they're not to scream, they're not to try and cause any consternation with the neighbors. They just act like sort of human beings, so to speak. I hate to say it that way. They're gonna be very careful when they do travel through that short section on South Worcester Street, because it's a tiny road, to make sure they use extra caution to stay on their side of the road. If in fact there are kids, if they're in fact joggers, they will slow down and give way to those individuals that are also using the road. Now, they can't monitor them 24/7. Their trucks are only there, their trucks leave the parking lot about 5 to 8 in the morning, and they return about 5 to 8 at night. So that's what Spirit wants to do. They definitely want to work with the neighbors in the town of Norton. They don't want any trouble whatsoever, because they just want to be good neighbors. I'll get that letter over to you. I don't know how else I can do it, but that's what they intend to do. I've cleared this with counsel from New York for Spirit, and they're in 100% agreement with me.
That's great. Michael, I see your hand up. You're on mute. The first mic to fail the mute test was our own.
Sorry. Attorney Rich, just so you know, there is a sign on 140 as you enter Woodward that says no box trucks. But are they willing, it's great that they've added those addendums and so forth, or those items into a letter into the addendums. Do they have, or are they willing to put GPS or any kind of monitoring systems on their trucks? And are they willing to possibly look at, I know that they said they've got these to implement some kind of strike policy, whereas if they have someone that is breaking these rules, I know that they know their contractors, they can end the contract, but some kind of, if they break the rules, they're definitely going to be 3 strikes. They're definitely not going to be, they're going to be let go.
Right. First thing, Mr. Chu, the sign on Woodard Street is actually on Woodard Street. So the trucks turn on Woodard Street and there's a sign. So they're not going to turn around. I'm suggesting that the signs be put just before Woodard Street, instructing them not to turn onto it. And second thing, we did talk about GPS, the monitoring. If it became problematic, I'm sure there's possibility that they could do that. And I'm not sure because I haven't spoken with them. Again, these are independent truckers, so they're not like employees where they can control them 100%. They can say, these are our rules, you'll have to comply with them. But I'm not so sure they can, where these truckers, they're not employees, they can do what they want when they get outside and out to the public. Obviously, if they break the rules, Spirit won't hire them again. I can run that by him about GPSs, but I can't guarantee that one, Mr. Toole.
And just one more follow-up question, Mr. Chairman. It was my understanding that they were Spirit's trucks that were hiring contractors, Is it now to my understanding that there's not Spirit's trucks, they're hiring contractors with trucks and then hiring that? Do you understand what I mean? I thought they were Spirit's trucks that Spirits were leasing and
No,
they were, no, that is not the case.
no, that's not what I understand. I will find that out for you, but the trucks are owned by the independent contractors, much like, Bernie and Phil's trucks. Those are not owned by Bernie and Phil's. They're owned individually.
Thank you.
But I'll check that out just to make sure, but I think I'm right.
Okay.
I see Renee has her hand up.
Dude, thanks, Jack. Attorney Rich, just a question. I know you made comment too, they can't monitor it 24 hours, but what are the plans to monitor it, at least initially, in that 6-hour time period from 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. to ensure there's compliance?
I'm sorry, I missed something on that. Could you say it again, please?
You had made a comment about, they can't monitor what the truck drivers are doing 24 hours, but what are they going to do to ensure compliance between the high traffic periods of 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. at least initially, to make sure they're complying with these requirements?
The only thing they can do is give them these new rules that they've suggested, that the addendum to the contract, and if they don't follow that, then they're gonna terminate their contract.
Okay, but who's going to monitor whether or not they're following that?
Well, unfortunately, I don't think they can monitor them all. I think there's 30-something trucks. If they get notice that some of these trucks aren't complying with it, or they're breaking the rules, then they'll just talk to the individual truck drivers.
Okay, so what I'd like to do is, can you ask them, at least on a temporary basis, while these are being implemented, that they account for some way to monitor, whether it's by posting somebody there from potentially a security company that can record the information, or doing it by installing new CCTV cameras. But I think that they have the responsibility to make sure there's compliance to this. It shouldn't be up to the residents in the area to say if somebody is still turning the wrong way or driving excessively.
I'll ask them, but you gotta remember, a lot of trucks use South Worcester Street that are not Spirits trucks. I was on there the other day, and there was a huge Amazon truck on South Worcester Street. So it's not, some of these trucks are probably not all Spirits.
Okay, I'm not asking them to monitor the road, just those going into the property.
I'll ask them if they can do that.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe a security camera may be something that we could do.
They have the option to hire a police detail too. I'm sure that Chief Clark could arrange that.
I will check them, but again, a police detail, it could be quite expensive, and I'm sure they're probably not gonna wanna do that, but I could ask them.
That's why I offered 2 other alternatives first. But yes, if you could take that back to them, I think that's still within their responsibility.
That's a great point, Renee. Having a policy without any form of monitoring and relying on resident complaints is not ideal. I think the idea of a security camera that can be reviewed upon a complaint to help verify and identify is a great first step. Any other questions from the board?
And
Yep, go ahead, Attorney Rich.
I know, I will check with them with those items that you just mentioned. But, I will have to check with the landlord. I thought the landlord had someone now posted at the gate. But I may be wrong, but that's what I heard from one of the attorneys. But I'll check on that. If there is someone posted at the gate, we'll at least alleviate that problem when they're going in and going out.
Yeah.
Well, as long as they're reporting back to you, right? Sorry, Michael.
It looks like Mr. Anderson is on the call, and he might be able to shed some light on that question, on that clarification point.
So we do have security on site from noon to 8:30 p.m. They're monitoring actions on the property, not necessarily which direction trucks will be coming into the property or exiting the property. And so I think that would still fall to Spirit to monitor that they're following that traffic flow that they're putting in place.
Thank you, Dean. Open it back up to any other questions from the board before I see Mr. Noble has his hand up.
Yeah, if one more, Mr. Chairman. So, Dan and Attorney Rich, I'm sorry, Mr. Anderson and Attorney Rich, yeah, I think collectively we've kind of aired out all the issues here. You know, one of the things that it seems like a lot of it falls outside, right? As soon as they leave the property, that's when all the issues there. We can't put a detail, and Chief Clark is there just monitoring these situations. Is there anything that we're missing here that we think that could solve some of these problems? I mean, besides, I'm glad we're airing these out. I just feel that a lot of them is going to fall back onto the residents to kind of, and I'm not sure if some of the solutions put in place are the remedy. And maybe I'm asking an impossible question, but is there something that we're missing here that isn't going to, I appreciate the effort Spirit's doing to put the warnings into their drivers. I think that will make a big difference. I recognize the changes that Home Market Food is making with the security guard from 12 to 8, and then also making sure that their drivers are aware of these policies. But I'm trying to really dig into what the issues were. The number one issue, was it the speeding on South Worcester Street? Have we addressed that as a board? And I guess this is more of a question to our board and really the town. So I'm not sure what I really want to ask here, Mr. Chairman, but I feel like we've had several meetings where we've talked about this and we're bringing solutions slowly. I just don't know how to fix it, and I want to fix it direly. I don't know how to.
Right. So I think it's a great point, Michael. The actions that have been taken to date that I'm aware of, there's been increased patrols from MPD. They've used grant money to put a speed monitoring sign. I believe that's the traffic calming sign on the road. And I believe there's been discussion to place an article or to consider placing an article on the fall town meeting warrant that would allow us to adjust the speed limit. I agree with you. I don't necessarily feel like that's enough. I'm a proponent of adding, speed humps or some sort of modifications to the road. I understand that there's concerns with that and the noise that could generate as well. I'm open to ideas. I know we have a few hands up. Brandon and Ruth, who are the residents. Christine, as a board member, I'll take you first.
Actually, Jack, I'd like to hear what the residents have to say, just because Michael's last comments were kind of calling on the residents for their opinion. So could I get theirs first, and then I'll raise my hand again if it's not answered.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay. So Brandon, I believe you were first up. You're on mute, sir.
I'm the first Brandon to be on mute. There we go. I just want to say thank you, everyone, Chief Clark, the board, Spirit Foods, for trying to make this better. It truly is appreciated. The one concern I had, and I think it was according to Mr. Tools, is, and Dan, we spoke on the phone. I'm actually I shouldn't use the word crazy, but I'm the crazy resident that chased one of the Spirit trucks down and called, the Norton Police Department. And I don't want to have to keep doing that. So I do want to reemphasize that, there has to be something else done instead of, if I see a truck, go flying by, I don't want to have to jump in my car every time and floor it and get over there and, figure out who it is and whatnot. Additionally, and I could be wrong, but afterwards, I think I mentioned it, I don't know what the security guard's job description is, but by the time, the trucks come in, I don't, and I'm not blaming him, but he does, they're kind of coming in the corner already, so he can't really see unless he's really right on the road. So it may prevent, you know, someone from throwing trash or going to the bathroom on the side of the road. But as far as the speed, I don't, you know how much that helps. Again, just my opinion, just, you know, I parked next to them and saw the vantage point. And so, while I appreciate, you know, Mr. Anderson, you know, getting a security guard, I don't know how much that helps with the speed. So I just want to mention those two things, because I know eventually if I keep chasing someone might be having a bad day, and then, you know, I don't want to get, you know, slugged in the face or something. So, you know, so I just wanted to add that and thank it, you know.
It's not helping.
Yeah, I was trying to say that nicely, but yes, I agree.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you, sir.
Ruth, I heard your initial thoughts on the security guard. Anything else you'd like to add? Ruth, you there?
Oh, no, Ruth doesn't care to speak. This is George Hatter.
Hi, George.
I live at 381 South Worcester Street, and I have some other concerns. Speaking of spare trucks, how do we know they're spare trucks? They don't have any decals. They don't have any even magnetic signs on their doors. We don't know who they are. They're Budget, Enterprise, Penske. So we don't know. Tuesday morning, I was getting my second cup of coffee at 6:30, and I counted 4 box trucks barreling out on the left side of the building, directly headed for the gate. And I waited for them to come in front of the house. They did not. They turned right. So much for signs. Last night, and Ruth was almost had a collision, a very close occasion last week. But last night, Ruth went out to get a package from Amazon, and there was a package of food out there, a bag, with just a tag, Dom on it. So we put our heads together, and we don't particularly care for tacos, so we thought they were to be delivered to 380 South Worcester Street. So I took them over, and I was looking for the Groveland security guard, and here's a semi sitting there idling. And this is another situation on that property, and I've been told by 2 police officers they have no jurisdiction to stop the idling, although there is a state law. 5 minutes, 6 minutes cost you $100, second time cost you $500, and $500 for every time after that. But anyway, there's another situation that I think we'd like to have looked at. As far as the speed sign, Ruth says it helped. I haven't seen it because I was headed toward John Scott, traveling toward John Scott, and a semi was coming toward me. And I looked in the rearview mirror, and the sign was flashing, the heavy bars underneath, indicating that he was exceeding the speed limit. And this is at his end of the curve. And I'd almost like to see that sign before the curve, or not, right, wrong, or indifferent. I have a witness to this now. I was traveling at 29, 30 miles an hour, and a squirrel ran in front of me. He clocked 42. But, and I have a witness to that. But I don't know. I just think that the signs, people don't particularly care if they're there or not. And I think that Attorney Rich's suggestion, and I said this before myself, the sign needs to be out on 140 at the end of Woodard, because once those drivers are committed, they don't know. And these signs that direct the drivers to spare it, would be a great help. I had to stop one time and go around a semi that was looking at Jackson Street, because that's where his GPS apparently told him to go. And I got around and motioned him to follow me, and then I took him down to the gate. But there really need to be some signs, and I think that I know that this isn't the time to say it, but I'm going to say it. Woodard Gate is the safest and most advantageous gate to be used. Trucks can't turn left to go down Woodard. They can't turn right to come down South Worcester Street. They can only have one alternative, and that's to go straight out to John Scott and straight in from John Scott. And I think that's it. And how are we going to, let me go back to how are we going to tell these are sprint vehicles? And I do have a great deal of concern as to whether they are really qualified as independent contractors because of their direction from Spirit. They're directed every step of the way and controlled by Spirit. They are Spirit employees, not contractors. But anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you, George. Appreciate it.
How do I get off this?
Mr. Chairman, just to make sure that everyone is aware that our traffic safety officer did not deem Woodard Street Gate safe for the trucks to leave as of right now, as designed the way it is. I just want to make sure that we're not just trying to reintroduce a new idea and someone that's coming on new to this debate. It is not deemed safe for the safety officers deemed that not safe right now, the way it's designed.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mike.
I have a question for Attorney Rich. All right, do you know the trucks, if they're not Spirit trucks, is it one company that's supplying those trucks?
I don't know, but I'm guessing that they're all individually owned. And I will find that out for you. But I'm guessing they're independent drivers, they own their own business, and they're probably incorporated, each one is probably incorporated on its own. But I will find that answer for you, but I'm pretty sure that they're owned by each individual.
Yeah. I know that's fairly common. I have a family member who is in a similar situation, owns and operates a trucking company with an exclusive license with a third party. All right. Christine, we'll circle back to you. I don't know if there's anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I just don't know how to word it. I guess the only question I did write down / statement for the board is just like kind of what Attorney Rich said, where there are other vendors, it's not just Spirit. I personally don't know every single vendor that is over there or any vendors that are on South Worcester Street, besides the one that we've mentioned. But we should hold all of them accountable, not just targeting Spirit, not just targeting, one specific company just because they've answered our calls for any concerns that we've had. We should hold everybody accountable. Because, if we could somehow get all the businesses to add these addendums to their contracts or make it known that there's issues and there's repercussions, I think that would be another good step in the right direction. Just adding on top of what we've all said. That's really all I've taken away from that one. Thank you.
That's a great point. And I know we've had Mr. Anderson on a few times to talk about the side. I think that's the first time we've had the Spirit folks. So I think I would agree that it's not just Spirit. It's a lot of traffic that goes down that path. I see Melanie Toll would like to add something. Hi, welcome aboard.
I actually just have a question. As we add more and more trucking facilities on top of residential areas, I live on the other end of town from the problem you're talking about, but we just dumped in a couple of really big warehouses, and there's, in addition to Bernie and Phil's, there's quite a lot of truck traffic, and They do use GPS and cut through. I see them on Newland Street all the time, large tractor trailers. I'm wondering if it's worthwhile, obviously Southwestern is a specific issue, but maybe a comprehensive plan on how we deal with large vehicles is something the board may want to undertake as we increase our commercial facilities.
That's a great point and one well taken. This seems to be an emerging trend in logistics. The amount of localized warehouses, so everyone can try to compete with the Amazons of the world. Okay, Chief Clark, well, I'm going to close it out with you. You've been listening. You know best about what's possible, what's feasible. Anything to add before we close this topic out?
Well, just, I guess, real brief. The idling law doesn't pertain to the warehouse. It's not what that's pertained to in particular. I know it's been mentioned a few times, but it's a law for that cars can't idle for more than 5 minutes unless they're being serviced or being used in a delivery or accept goods where an engine-assisted power is necessary. I mean, if you can't leave a refrigerated truck out there off, and the food will go rotten, unfortunately. We can look to add more signs. That's an easy fix. To Attorney Rich's point, we can look to put another sign out on Route 140. I know the security guard's been mentioned a couple times today. Perhaps through Dan Anderson, maybe we can have that person standing outside of the car and directing people at the entrance to take a left rather than a right. I think there's would be some value potentially in that. We've been out there every single day, and I'm sure that it's happening because there's enough complaints about it, but we haven't issued or stopped one car in a month. So that's kind of where we're at.
Thank you, Chief.
Oh, one more thing. So you mentioned the Woodard Street gate, and I think Brandon had a question about that. How do we make that safe? I would just strongly suggest, and I know the town manager mentioned this a couple weeks ago too, is that if you're going to open that gate, you need to have a conversation with the Woodard Street residents because it's already become an issue for them. I mean, quite frankly, the residents don't want that business there. That's where all the trucks are coming from. So if you don't want it in front of Gaffney Farm and you want to move it in front of Woodard Street, I can tell you that those residents are going to have some issue with it. So we're just moving the problem. So.
Right. And I know last meeting we had someone from that was on Woodard Street was here on this meeting, and he expressed that concern as well. Mr. Chairman, one point to the town manager. Mike, can we add this to a discussion? I know we keep in town, I forget what the report's called, but on approving certain streets and sidewalks in certain towns. I forget, what is that plan? There's a plan. I know it's part of the master plan. You're going to keep me out here and not give me the name of the report, are you? Can we maybe look at adding the street to that?
Yeah, well, we have safe routes to school, but that wouldn't be part of this, but okay.
Am I completely the street missing what the report is?
You mean just this area, or you mean?
I thought there were what I understood in the master plan, there were certain streets that were being identified for improvements and also sidewalks. I mean, I know that for improvements and or sidewalks.
Right, under the complete streets and the safe routes to school program.
Okay, that's a different program. Okay, thank you.
Maybe, Michael, I would ask, in respect to that, if either business, as part of being a partner to the community, would provide a donation to potentially fund getting sidewalks in that area.
I can't speak for Spirit. I'd have to ask them.
Yeah, I would have to take that.
Did I just tell you?
Sorry, go ahead, Dan.
The warehouse has been there since 1960, and it probably shouldn't have been built there, but it is there. And Southwestern is a small street, I'm not even so sure you could put sidewalks on there and how would it alleviate the problem? It's just, it's an unfortunate where it's located, but that's where it is.
And I agree, Attorney Rich. I think the goal needs to be trying to address the behaviors that lead to this problem. It's probably the most challenging, but it's going to be long-term the most effective to do that. And look forward to continuing to work with yourself, Dan Anderson, and the residents to try to find the best way forward.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us tonight. I'm sure we'll talk to you again soon.
Mr. Chairman, may I?
Thank you very much. And
Was that George?
Yes. I have a question. These are independent contractors. Why don't they take their trucks and park them at their own premises and not on Spirit's premises? So if they're warmed up in the morning in different neighborhoods than ours.
Do we get excise tax?
And we're not getting any excise tax, such as the 100,000 that Cisco is affording the town every year. And that's, I just wonder if these are really independent, but they claim they are, so let them take their trucks and park them at their place of business. And their place of business is not Spirit or 380 South Worcester Street. Am I correct?
Yeah, I think we'll have to leave that with the town manager to check the garaging status of those vehicles. So perhaps you can work with Dan
Thank you very much.
The Spirit folks. Thank you, George. Appreciate it.
I'm gone.
All right. Thanks everybody for joining tonight on this topic.
thank you for your time. Thank you.
Absolutely. Next up, we are moving to, lost my place. A review and vote on the annual and special town meeting articles, including a few specific ones. So as Renee alluded to, we have a number of folks here from the 9 Lives Cat Shelter. So perhaps we can start with that, Mike, if you want to.
Sure. I'll
reset where we're at.
All right, I'll put that up first, the article. Yeah, just briefly to go over what this is. We're approached by Condyne on behalf of Waste Management, and Waste Management is looking to expand. And so they were looking to see if the selectmen could have permission to negotiate with them, with Waste Management and Condyne, to sell the property where the animal shelter and 9 Lives in the firing range are right now. And then they would build us a new animal shelter and a new 9 Lives building. And right now they were proposing on a piece of property over by the entrance to Commerce Way, in between the entrance to Commerce Way and the Holiday Inn. And obviously, there would be 2 new buildings, and once those buildings were built to our specifications, and we could move into those buildings, we would then deed over the Hill Street property to them, and we'd own the new property with the 2 new buildings. And I can just show you a couple where we're talking. Let me so this is the existing property right now. Waste Management is over here. The firing range would stay, and then Waste Management would expand over into this area with more parking. And just to show you this is not a concept of the buildings that would be built. This was another building that was permitted on the property that they're talking about out here on South Washington Street.
Mike, do you know the address of that particular property?
Let me see.
because I can't figure out exactly where this is, without saying like more of the surrounding area.
Okay, so, let me go up a little. So this would be Commerce, the industrial park over here. And then, on the opposite side, over here would be the Holiday Inn. So let me see if on either on the article or on this if the address is there.
I didn't see it on the article. When you had it up, but.
It may not have an address yet because there's no building on it.
Do we have a parcel number by chance?
Yeah. Map 25, parcel 93.
Parcel 98.
I don't see either of those numbers. Can I share my screen for a second and then
Sure.
maybe you can guide me?
And when Renee's getting that up, obviously this would involve some negotiation, so it's not like it's an automatic or done deal. Further down South Washington. Keep going. Right there, parcel 93.
So, Mike, while we're orienting ourselves on the map here, how did 9 Lives come to be situated on this piece of property? So I understand now that this is something that the town owns, and is there a lease type?
There is a lease with 9 Lives.
Okay. And do you happen to know offhand the terms of that lease? Is relocating the site something that falls within that?
Yeah, I don't have that with me, Jack. I'd have to check the lease and let you know that.
Okay. And how long have they been there?
I'm not sure. I think there's some people from 9 Lives on, they may be able to tell you.
Yes, I see a lot of hands. Just shut up.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask the town manager a couple questions?
Sure. We'll get to the 9 Lives folks in a minute.
Yeah, and then we can just jump into, Mike, can you just kind of just describe how the communication has gone through? It seems to be that that was a little bit of concerns. I know that you had communicated with them and so forth. How did this, I know Waste Management approached you and I think Paul DiGiuseppe, and then can you just maybe kind of walk us through how the process happened?
Yeah.
How we got
So, Condyne approached us and just basically, as I told you, just approached us with that concept proposal. Nothing definitive yet. And so then I spoke with the animal control officer who gave me Carol Reed's name from 9 Lives. And so I sent the information to Carol. They were having a board meeting a week or so ago. And so I sent that information to her so she could see. And I did explain to her that even if town meeting votes for this, it's not saying we're doing it. It's just gives the selectmen the authority to negotiate.
And is there any understanding on, I know a new facility is, you know, when I apologize, I don't know the operations of 9 Lives, and I apologize to the group here because they do excellent work. Do we have any idea what the impact for them would be? Is from what we're seeing, have we even done that, or were the conversations haven't gone there yet?
Well, impact-wise, we would not incur any cost. Anything that had to be done as far as construction or relocation of animals would be at the expense of waste management. We would not incur any of those costs.
Okay, thank you. I agree.
And by we, does that also include the 9 Lives facility as well?
Yes, yes.
All right, and I know we do have some hands up, and we'll get to you in a second. I just want to give the board members a chance to ask any questions that they have.
Jack, I do have a question.
Take it away.
But we talked about previously looking at other properties in town that weren't specifically industrial properties that are in a really good position to bring in businesses. What came from that?
I did mention that. I don't think Jeff is not opposed, Jeff O'Neill from Condyne is not opposed to anything. If we can find another parcel, he would not have an issue with that, a parcel that's suitable for everybody.
Is there anything in the land that they own behind that, like to the, I don't know if this map is oriented to north and south, but like, it looks like the line to Taunton, like there are quite a bit of parcels there. Does he have anything that would be somewhat farther back and not like an immediate access that, you know, a potential business would want because of that access?
For the proposed location?
Like something,
Yeah,
I guess,
no.
effectively behind it.
No, I don't believe he does. And obviously, where the animal shelter and 9 Lives are now, you have waste management on one side, you have the storage treatment plant on the other side, and you have the gun range behind it. And the gun range would stay where it is. So.
Okay. And then my only other thought would be what do the folks from 9 Lives and then Brian think about this from a noise perspective, a location perspective, you know, what are their opinions?
We'll get to those folks in just a second. Christine?
Yeah, kind of going off of what Renee said. One question for Mike is so Waste Management would pay for the new 9 Lives facility, whatever needs to get done. Who is in charge of designing the facility? Because I'm just concerned that they just put up, no offense to anybody, but I don't want them to just put up 4 walls and call it a day.
No, that would be part of any agreement. I'm sure that the selectmen would negotiate that we would have complete say over what type of facility was to be built, and would have it built to specifications. Like I've said to the animal control officer, think of all the things that you don't have in your facility right now that you wish you had. That's what you would want in a new facility.
Okay, good. Yeah, because I just want to make sure that, because, you know, us not using, you know, we're a select board, we don't work there every day, but the people who are at 9 Lives, the animal control officer, they're there every day. So I just want to make sure that of anybody who's involved in this talk, if this does get pushed through, they are definitely involved in the talks in the future.
Because we would be driving the ship, because we don't need this, they need it. So we would be driving the ship. We'd be telling them, this is what you're gonna do. And if they don't want to do it, then we'd say, okay, don't.
Yeah.
we won't move forward.
Good try. Yep.
So
okay.
Mike, oh, I'm sorry, Christine.
Yeah, just one more question, Renee, if you don't mind. Then on top of actually going off of what Renee said, I do understand the need for, you know, possibly looking at the businesses going into the more business designated area. But I would also want to hear what, like you said, what 9 Lives and all volunteers think of the parcel that's proposed, or what, if we have other open parcels that we're able to do, let them kind of take a look and see if there's one that would be more suitable for their situations. Because, you know, if the noise is a problem because they have animals, and poor animals come from rough backgrounds sometimes, and the noise could be a torturous life for them living there. So we wouldn't want to do that, because they're kind of residents of Norton, so we do have to protect them too.
Excellent. Thank you, Christine. I'll turn it over to Darlene and Nine Lives Legal Counsel. And I would just like to add my own question. I know you guys are very resistant to the idea of moving now. I'm curious if that is because of either the location or the lack of involvement to this point. And we'll let you take it away.
Well, this is Darlene Borowiak. I am president of the board of directors for Nine Lives. First of all, there were questions about the lease, and I wonder if our legal counsel might want to discuss those. I can tell you just basically the lease was, we signed the lease in 2009. We then built our own building, raising funds from many people in Norton so that a lot of people in Norton have a stake in the Nine Lives building. We moved into that building in 2010, and we have a 30-year lease with the town. So we are in year 12, 11 or 12 of that lease with the town that we signed in 2009. And those are just the basics. Do you want to add anything, Tina? Do you want to?
So first I'll introduce myself. My name is Christina Scopper. I'm not a resident of Norton, but I'm serving for Nine Lives as pro bono basis. I have fostered probably 30 cats from Nine Lives, and I have adopted 2 cats from Nine Lives. And I know the volunteers at Nine Lives, and this is not just a Norton issue, it's a surrounding issue. And I have 3 cats I can show you that I'm fostering right now who are absolutely adorable. And I just want to say that the concerns that Nine Lives has is the lack of communication of how this went down. That Carol, who I know very well, was not informed about this and how it was brought to their attention, and then the members of the board. These are a board that is completely committed to these cats. And I really appreciate what Christine said and Renee was raising about where this new facility may be, because it's not in a facility where that would be good for cats of this nature. A lot of these cats come in and they're feral, they're found, people bring them. People have to feel safe to bring the cats to the location. And I've been to Nine Lives hundreds of times. And yes, it's next to the treatment plan. Yes, next to, the waste man. And yes, the shooting, can get to you. It's mostly the dogs who don't like the shooting, to be honest. But being in an environment where the cats can be brought, that volunteers, people, it's some people just drop the cats. And, we wouldn't want kittens just on the doorstep, just have to think what reality is. And having volunteers come and the location, I know that area, even though I'm not in Norton, I live in Sharon, on the Sharon, Mansfield, Foxborough border. I know this area. So on behalf of Nine Lives, we would like this not brought up at this time. There needs to be more discussion. Nine Lives committed themselves to that building. That was not a town building at all. This was built by the heart and soul of the people who were committed to that. They negotiated a 30-year lease. Obviously, I was not involved with that. But, I don't want to go to, chapter and verse. It's a lease given by the town. But I really do appreciate that. I'm here just to help advocate for Nine Lives, not to make anything difficult. That's not who I am as a lawyer. I know people don't like lawyers, but I'm not here to be difficult. It's more, I want to look out for their interests, that they find if there's going to be a new parcel of land, which I think, Christine, you raised, I think that would be great. Just basically let Nine Lives have a say in this. Let them be part of the discussion, because the way it went down, they just found out about it without knowing. And they had even just had a gentleman do a walkthrough Nine Lives. So when you say you're not ready to go forward, to have someone have to go through Nine Lives already, I think it was last Wednesday, Carol or Darlene, you can chime in. Yeah. But that doesn't seem like there's a weight on this. So, you have to think about.
Yeah, can I just ask about the walkthrough?
Yeah, Darlene.
Yeah, it was the representative of Poundine who requested a walkthrough of both us, our building and the animal shelter building. And that he walked through our building last Wednesday.
Because I knew we had an energy management consultant going around, so I wasn't sure if that was who it was. Okay.
So you have to understand when they have that, it was last minute and I was gonna try to make it and I couldn't. And, you know, I said, Carol, let's videotape it because we don't know what's going on. And then, you know, the building isn't that old and, you know, volunteers built it. I don't know if anyone's been by 9 Lives. I mean, if you're allergic to cats, you can look in from the outside or something. Cats aren't for everybody, but it is important to us. It's important to me as a volunteer. It's important to me enough to devote my time, to 9 Lives. You know, they're not paying me to do this, and it's just something that I think that the town, the selectmen need to really consider before you move forward. There has to be a careful consideration of the property, the careful consideration of what 9 Lives has built. And I know you're saying that, you know, you're steering the ship of what Waste Management may provide to build a new building, but there has to be, this is gonna sound so hokey, okay? But if the cats could talk, you know, they want to say in this, and all those future cats, because one thing you should also know, that shelter is also a permanent home for some cats who are just not adoptable. There are cats who volunteers who come in and out who take care of those cats. They're there 24 hours. And because they're not adoptable for different reasons. And then we just recently lost one, you know, so these are cats, I said people, they're cats that are not just coming in now. And yes, I foster because I have the kittens, but I've dealt with, we actually found a cat on Waste Lives Management, 3-legged black cat. I nursed that cat, you know? So
can I interject? I just want to say, as a select board member, like I also too was a little surprised. My in-laws owned they own a commercial flooring company. I'm sure you guys know them, over in Taunton, and they fostered, I don't know, 30, 50 feral cats, and they actually worked with you guys, and you guys were tremendous in terms of helping them, you know, either place them or get them all that, you know, what they needed to have done. So I truly appreciate it. And, you know, again, I like personally, I, you know, would be sort of horrified if you guys weren't part of the discussion and, you know, going forward.
Yeah,
so
I think that is one of the main things that we wanted to get across, is that we have not been involved in that. And the way the article is written, it is not clear that this is just the start of negotiation. It really indicates that the board can do this. And the second thing is that we have nothing against Waste Management. We understand perfectly. They've been very good neighbors with us. We have not had any problems with being a neighbor of Waste Management. We understand their need to expand. They have lots of trucks. They have lots of workers who need parking spaces. We understand that, and we know that if push came to shove, we might not be able to stop that. It really is the location that's being proposed and the lack of forethought and planning as to, you know, what you do with a cat shelter that really does deal with a lot of cats. Just last year, which was a very down year for us with COVID and everything, we had 45 adoptions last year. We've adopted well over 2,000 cats in the years that we've been business. We have trapped and neutered and therefore diminished the feral cat population in Norton. And there are a lot of neighborhoods that appreciate that, that had feral cats, colonies of feral cats, that we came in and trapped and neutered and brought an end to those colonies. So we do a lot of work for the town. So it's a combination of things that has hit us pretty hard. It is our building, and we would very much want to stay in whatever new building is built. We're not trying to bring a halt to what might benefit the town and what might benefit Waste Management. We understand all of that perfectly, and we understand their need perfectly, but we do not like the location that's being proposed. Just to put that out there in plain language, it is not an appropriate location. It is near the highway. It's not a safe location. It's not well lighted. We have volunteers that come in every day of the week, in the morning and in the evening, that have to take care of the cats. We have a lot of visitors to the shelter who want to adopt cats. We just need a different location, and we need a lot of say in what our future is going to be. That's the word that we'd like to get across. And we don't think this article is ready to go before the town in the way that it's written, because it's really not very clear what the town is proposing to do with 9 Lives and with the animal shelter.
So Darlene, thank you for that. Jack, if I may ask, Mike, I was actually thinking before they started talking to, I was looking at the language in the article, to not like, delay, any further discussions. Is it possible for us to change the article language so we remove the reference to the parcel on, that parcel 93, to allow the board, more leeway in you working and negotiating with these folks and, with Brian on a more suitable location so that we could move forward then with waste management without having to bring it back at a town meeting? Because it does have a reference in here to, and I think this is what it is, Assessor's Map 25, Parcel 93. But could that be more general to say a similar property?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I hate to delay them to another meeting too, but would we be better off if, we had a letter from the Board of Selectmen that just said, we're willing to work with you, but the only reason I'm saying that because I guess, why don't we leave it with that? We could take the language out, and then if something had to be clarified later on a location, if town council said that, we could bring something back to a town meeting. But at least if it just says, doesn't mention the parcel in particular, just mentions a suitable parcel.
Mm-hmm. And I think from what you guys have heard from the board, right, we would make sure that you were involved. And, again, like I know we haven't heard from Brian, and Mike, you hadn't indicated his thoughts on the property either, but we'd really like everybody, it might not be the best situation, but if we can get it, a bit better, and understanding your concerns with the current location. And, I think there are other concerns as well. If town council allows us to move this forward without the reference to that location, and we continue to work with you on, what might be a better location, I'd propose that. I don't know how the rest of the board members feel.
I would say if that option is not viable, because I would expect we would need to reference some form of parcel identification in anything like that. With the board support, I'd be happy to sign a letter to Condyne and saying similar, that we'll help them find a suitable parcel, and all the requirements that go along with it.
I think that might be easier.
So Mike, you want us to remove this article then from the warrant?
I would, and then we'll just let them know as soon as we get to some agreement. We'll come back.
Yeah, we can always call a special. That's not a problem. But I just think with the concern that the 9 Lives folks have with the location and their lack of involvement to that point, it makes sense to take a bit more time for that. So I appreciate your support on that.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And Chair would entertain a motion to remove this article from the warrant.
So moved, and for clarification, it's Article 11.
Second.
Right. Motion in a few seconds. Christine?
Yes.
Meg?
Yes.
Michael?
Aye.
Renee?
Yes.
And I too vote yes. Thank you everyone for coming in.
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Thank you.
Can we just make, Mike, do you need to let Finance Committee know on this? Did they vote on this? Okay.
They did. I'll let them know.
Please, they're meeting again on Monday night, so.
I mean, they won't need to reconsider because we removed it from the warrant.
Right. They're not going to meet on Monday night now, but I'll email them.
Darlene and Christina, thank you so much for joining us tonight and sharing your perspective. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And,
Thank you.
we look forward to working with you to find a suitable home.
Look forward to it. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. And I'm sorry you didn't get to see Michael's cat make a presence, because it usually comes
I was
across the
calling
screen
her
during our
over.
meetings.
She was bothered by the whole subject matter. She didn't really want, she didn't want to be seen.
Well, thank you, everyone. It was a pleasure. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for all that you guys do.
All right. Take
We
care.
appreciate what you do.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, Mike. What other articles do we need to go through?
Article 10.
This is Reed and Barton, okay.
Yep.
So, I believe, I don't know who was copied on the note from Attorney Rich from, KP Law. From my perspective, I think this language looks good. It reflects what we have, and keeps it open to that idea. I don't know if anyone has had any thoughts. Renee, I know this was something that you were keenly interested in.
So in this, oh, sorry, want me to just go over what the changes were?
Yeah, go ahead, Michael. I did read it in email and I thought it was fine. I haven't read it as listed here, but I assume it's the same.
So environmental, it's been changed to environmental monitoring. What was it before? Remediation before, monitoring now. And then,
sampling, right?
And sampling, yep. And then the next section, and further to provide assistance to residents of surrounding homes have been affected by contamination arising from the site as is necessary to protect public health and safety.
I like it.
Yeah, I thought the wording was very, very well written.
Excellent. Well, seeing no other comments, Chair would entertain a motion to approve Article 10 as written.
So moved.
Second.
We'll go to the vote. Christine?
Yes.
Meg?
Yes.
Michael?
Aye.
Renee?
Yes.
And I too vote yes. Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Mike, for working with us to refine that language just so.
Right, and I think the only other article that you haven't voted on, but the Water and Sewer Department removed their article on the land that they were looking to acquire on Pine Street. They're not, in Crane Street, they're not ready. So they're gonna bring that forward in October, they said. And Article 6. And Article 6 is just the budget article.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Jack, before we get in there, Mike, the water and sewer report was land acquisition, Pine
Yep.
Street and Crane?
Yes,
Okay, so that was removed.
yes.
And then. It was removed. And which one did you say is left?
Article 6 for the budget.
Just Article 6, the FY22 operating budget. And the Finance Committee voted, well, you were at the last meeting, to recommend a budget of $62,647,534.
Can you say that one more time?
Say that
I missed
again.
can you say that one more time? I got the 62 million and the 534, but missed the middle part.
It is 62,647,534.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And where does that put us, Mike? In deficit, level services?
Where does that put us, Renee? Say that again.
Where does that final amount put us?
As far as?
Do we have a deficit? Like, did we account for any deficit or?
We don't have a deficit, but it required cuts in budgets, and the largest ones obviously were police and fire overtime, and the school request is 2.5% versus the 5% requested. And we're using $839,403 from free cash, $200,000 from the Hicks Fund, $700,000 ambulance receipts, $10,000 from the dog fund, $35,000 is septic betterments, $3,000 wetland protection, And then the sewer reimbursement is $112,325, and water reimbursement is $533,254.
Those last two went up substantially, Mike, right? The water.
Right, yeah, because it's based on the water and sewer budget, and with the water treatment plant, their budget increased significantly.
So Mike, with the, you said the school increase is 2.5, what's the municipality increase?
Let me see if I have that.
What was your question, Renee? I'm sorry.
The school budget increase was 2.5, what was the municipality budget increase? I mean, I would imagine it's also 2.5, but.
No, I think it's less.
It's less than last year.
Yeah.
So last year, the town budget was $14,009,611, and this year it's $13,767,362.
So it's a reduction of, do you know the percentage?
Not off the top of my head, let me, Jack usually beats me doing this.
Yeah.
No, I didn't write down the 14.
So I will say that the, right now, this budget, I believe, if it's in line with what I have in front of me, represents a 2.04% increase. Without the school.
It was -1, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a 1.58.
Yeah, that was 149. I think it's 149 or something, isn't it?
Did Chris, you said?
I show it as an increase.
That's including everything else, fixed and shared, and.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So with the school, it was 2.04. Without the school, it's 1.58 increase.
Mike, what hit did the overtime take? It must have been huge.
Yeah, so the overtime for the police department was cut 44,000, and I'm looking for the fire. $125,000 from fire.
So it's going to bring it down to.
And they have new employees now too, Mike, right? So that hit really isn't that great. Or it wouldn't, let me rephrase that. The overtime, because there are new employees, specifically with that grant money, is expected to be less.
Yeah, hopefully we get them.
I thought
we just have to get people, yeah.
It's very tough, yeah.
Yeah, Renee, I
Hopefully
thought
we
that we weren't going to get any benefit from the overtime, the hires until almost a year. I mean, they're only like 4 months in. They can't even be full firemen. They can't firefighters till after almost a year training, and I think that was one of the issues. Is this going to bring any issues on safety at all, Mike? I mean, if you've gotten did Sean, and Brian feel?
Obviously, their hope is that some of this, if not all of it, will be able to be restored through the year. Because they'll obviously have to be conservative about filling overtime if this is the final number.
Yeah.
And Mike, the last time, and I don't think you guys met last week, but the last time that we had met, one of our discussion points was about specifically our discussion overall about keeping people aligned to a 3% increase due to the reduction in revenue. Was that adjusted after that meeting?
No, because of contractual requirements. I mean, I'll give you a spreadsheet of what everyone's salaries.
I thought two of the ones we were talking about weren't contracts, they were personnel bylaws.
Yeah, no, nothing's been adjusted yet.
So you're expecting to do more adjustments?
No, I'm not expecting, I'm figuring we're gonna be okay, but I'll show you all the spreadsheet of all the different salaries.
Okay.
Okay, at that point.
Are we gonna see it tonight?
No, I don't have that with me.
Now, I was muted. I have to do it to myself. Son of a gun. Any other questions or discussion on the budget? All right, seeing none, Chair would entertain.
Wait, Jeff, 1 second.
Okay.
I just wanted to know, so, the meeting is the 8th, right? And we haven't seen that spreadsheet, so when are we planning on getting together to look at that? Sorry, I just put up my calendar. I can't believe we're already almost in May.
Time flies when you're having fun. So, Mike, I think the question was, when can that information be presented back to us?
I can present it back to you sometime next week.
Okay. Renee, would you prefer to hold off on approving Article 6 until then, or if possible, I'd like to approve it and then we can always reconsider it at that point? That way
Yeah, I mean, because what's gonna happen is it has to be posted by tomorrow, right? Again, the 7 days, so it would have to be something that would be amended. It would need to be amended at town meeting.
Right.
So yeah, as long as we, maybe we have a short meeting on the 6th to look at that. Mike, did you say they were meeting on the 3rd or no? Oh, it wouldn't matter, we don't have enough time to post.
The finance committee's not meeting again.
All right. So, yeah, let's try to meet quickly, briefly, with 1 or 2 topics on the 6th. Since I'm
Does that mean 2-hour meeting, Jack?
No, less than an hour.
I will already say I cannot be at that meeting.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think truly a short one would be warranted there, especially I think we're all in for a long day on Saturday. So Chair would entertain a motion to approve Article 6 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion in a second. Christine?
Yes.
Meg?
Yes.
Michael?
Aye.
Renee?
Yes.
And I too vote yes. All right. Thank you all. And I believe that concludes our warrant discussions. Hallelujah.
So Mike, can we go through the actual warrant? Because I know you need a couple more signatures, and let's just be clear that we're on the same page on the articles that are appearing.
Yep, let me go up to the top.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Jack, I did want to point out just regarding Article 18, just some guidance. I mean, I know we've approved it. I just wanted to kind of just mention something about that, but that can be after Mike's review, I guess.
That would be the drain article, correct? The petition
Yes.
article? Yes.
That's correct.
I think we did have a plan to chat about that as well.
Yeah.
You want to talk about it first, Michael?
Yeah, we could, that would be great. Just so you know, one of the things that I had asked both Paul DiGiuseppe and Mike to ask town council to look into the idea of spot zoning. And I interpret the email a little bit different than Mike and Paul to get me straight, but there was some concerns that there would, from the residents and so forth, that while Red Mill Village is commercially zoned, usage and determination of usage does play a part in this. They don't see it really, our council doesn't see it, but they did kind of leave it a little bit open that it could be considered spot zoning based on the usage, not the matching right? Because it's commercial zone, they're asking for commercial, but it's commercial with residents. And where the drain property has not really been defined of what the usage is going to be, it could be opened up and it could be risk to it. And it was just something that, I really, after speaking to many of the Red Mill Village people and looking at that property and looking at the usage, I'm very concerned about it being commercial property, especially with the 20 to 30 residents at that corner with very small streets on White Street and so forth. I'm very, very concerned of it being deemed with not any idea of what could go on that spot, which is a very unconforming lot to begin with. So, Paul, I know Paul's on the call as well. Is he still on? Mike? No. Mike, did that kind of summarize by the attorney's concerns on it as well?
Do we have that in the packet? The attorney's letter?
I don't think it made it.
Okay.
I thought it was in the packet.
Was it?
Towards, maybe try towards the end, like, maybe page like 60 something. No.
You got 96 others to guess right, Christine.
It's so weird. Like, if like there's a number or something that I'm like staring at, I'll remember
It's
it.
on page 62.
Yeah.
Right.
Weird.
Yeah.
That won't happen every time.
All right, so this is the parcel. Right here is the parcel. This is the plaza at Red Mill, and this is Bernie and Phil's here, and this is Red Mill.
And those Red Mill, like I said, those are just all houses, and that White Street is so small. And one of my concerns is wondering if it's, if on the consideration of this property is, until we, if my recommendation would be, I want to see what people are proposing for this before the changing of the zoning. And that I think would be the best solution for it, but I know we've already voted on this, so it's just one of the things that I wanted to, just bring up, because it is going to impact many residents in there, and they have signed a petition to stop it. And so, and while it's a petition article, it's going to stay on there, but our vote as approving it, I think carries a lot of weight, and I just wanted to bring it to our attention to say, is this something there where it's going to impact residents very directly on something that we don't know what's going on that property?
So Michael, I have a different opinion on that, and primarily because, one of the things that I've always considered, and I'm just going to, relate back to the marijuana overlay, like we specifically didn't look at what specific type is going into the area, right? Like, we looked, is it appropriate for commercial or appropriate industrial? Like, one of the things that kind of always gets under my skin is that we tend to make changes based on like a particular applicant or something that comes before us, as opposed to looking at it holistically and making a decision. And so if I can for a second, because I did, I'm going to switch. I know Mike just walked away, but I'm going to kill his screen share for a second and just share the zoning, because I considered, when that email hit, I considered that as well. And what I was looking at was, while this parcel does abut this area, and this area is commercial, like I think I said from the beginning, and I remember having a conversation with Warren on this, like, why in the world is this commercial and not residential? But this parcel right here starts the first section, like where AJ's Pizza is and Kelly's Place, and it's contiguous on East Main Street, right? Like, there's still a separation here to the commercial property. So to the Red Mill property, and I feel like it's appropriate because it's sitting on East Main Street. Like, this is kind of like a business corridor, and one of the reasons why I don't feel like it's spot zoning. And I don't necessarily want to make a decision based on what may go there versus making a decision based on it being commercial or being residential, right? Because commercial already defines the uses for that area. I don't think that us saying, well, is it a gas station or is it a restaurant or is it parking or whatever should really weigh in the decision. And that's my opinion.
Yeah, and Renee, I'd probably tend to agree with you if this was such an unconforming lot, right? There are going to be variances needed to build anything on there, and if we change it to commercial, I think it's going to impact residents more than if it was a traditional lot. And so it really is it's a very difficult. I mean, I understand a lot came up with like how much taxes we'll get off this. We don't have a split tax rate. While the valuation might be determined a little bit, I think the lot's really too small to make to really make an impactful difference on the type of zoning. And it's just, I'm looking at it and I you know me, Renee, I love to be able to look businesses, try to say, I believe 140 and 123 are our business zones, but this is one that I think is going to really impact a lot of people because of the small street that buffers them, that more than likely that's the street traffic is going to come out to. If they put a business there, that's the street traffic is going to have to come out on, because they're not going to do the curb cut on 123 and they're not going to do a curb cut on Newland because of the short frontage on Newland. They're going to have to do it on White Street, and that's going to impact those people more than anything else, and it's going to need a variance, but it's going to be.
But I think you're speculating, right? I think you're speculating on that. And again, like, I think we should trust the processes. If they need a variance to let it go through that process and they determine whether or not that variance should be approved. But
you go from a variance to, you kill the project to naught, whereas if it was residential, a residence would go there, and the property would, if you kept it the way it is, a house would go there, and the impact on the residents there would not have any impact at all. And you are right, Renee, I'm speculating on this, but if we kept it residents, the impact would be almost next to nothing on the residents.
Well, right, because I don't see anybody building a house on that property. Because it's on a commercial thoroughway.
Something all through 123, there are houses built on commercial thoroughways, and 140. I disagree. I think somebody will build, I think somebody will build a house on that lot. I do.
So good discussion. I think my personal opinion on this changed when I read the attorney's opinion. I too am concerned that this could be spot zoning, or it is a petition article, so the drains are able to put this on as they see fit. And similar to another discussion we had recently, I don't think it's appropriate to speculate as to what the business is. When considering this, I think at least for me personally, the bigger concern would be regarding that spot zoning and what that could potentially do. I would be willing to reconsider my vote on this purely in light of that. If that process was followed and all the notifications were done for spot zoning, I don't know, spot zoning could be a legal concept, but rezoning this, I would still support it. It's more the process that's been followed.
So Mike, what is if this were approved by the town, right, there's a review to determine whether or not it's spot zoning, and that doesn't include us, right? That's the state that would do that?
If someone thought it was spot zoning, then they could appeal it to court. Obviously, the Drain family wants this, so I would think that the Drain family would defend it in court. And just on Amy's opinion, her last paragraph, based solely on the below, the amendment which seeks to rezone a parcel to commercial, which apparently is adjacent to an established commercial zone, in my opinion, would not be particularly vulnerable to a spot zoning claim.
So I'm going to err on the side of petitioner here and say that, from my perspective, I support it. If it is spot zoning, then it's up to them to represent that. If somebody disagrees with it, if it passes. That's my thought. I don't think it's you know, in our purview to do anything differently.
So, Orin, I know you've got your hand up, but I'd like to just jump to Christine real quick.
Yeah, no, just kind of going off of exactly what Renee said, like the wording seems like this could be spot zoning. But as long, what my question is, and it's probably towards Mike, is the repercussion if we as the select board put this on the town meeting, the town then approves it, then someone calls that it's spot zoning, where are the repercussions? Are there repercussions?
Yeah. Well, you don't have any say in whether it goes on the town meeting warrant or not. It's a petition article, so it has to be on the warrant.
Yeah, Christine, we couldn't remove it. because
But
it's a
what I'm
petition.
asking for, Christine, is the approval,
Oh.
you know, what, I want
support.
to remove our support for it, because I think there is some risk to it. I also don't believe it should be supported, but I forget about that. I think there's some risk to it, and I think the select board should remove that because there's risk to it.
Okay, I misunderstood that. Thank you for the clarification.
But Michael, you're talking about the risk that it's spot zoning, right?
I'm talking about yeah, excellent, absolutely right. Yes.
Okay, so which is not town risk. That's the risk that the drains need to deal with.
No, it's still town risk. I do believe that. I don't think the select board should be endorsing something that might be risky, that could end up in litigation. I just don't, if there's a chance for it, I think we should just stay out of the fight.
All right, let's pause there. Orin, I know you'd like to speak on this topic.
Yes, if I could, two things. If you wouldn't mind, I mean, there's two slides that I would like to show the board. I'm not going to get into a long thing. But just one thing that you were talking about, be advised, the warrant after approval goes to the Attorney General, and this is an element that the Attorney General can review as part of its review of any bylaws coming from the town. So that's part of the Attorney General's review. If you note in the review that came in for the solar farms, they did reference that, and in that case, they raised the argument of a spot zoning, and because it was town-wide, it was clearly not one. But if you notice, the Attorney General did reference that, and that is something that they will take up on review. And if I could screen share just two slides, just to underscore what I'm talking about.
Two slides.
Give me three. Okay.
Three is my.
I said after this.
Take them to one, Jack. Take them to one.
That's long enough. Okay, just so you know, this is the zone that's commercial. This is Red Mill Village, and this was approved by it was a special permit that allowed for the village, which included Red Mill Crossing. Red Mill Crossing only has two real retail uses, which accommodate the village as well as the public. But in addition to which, it has the garbage facility, the mail facility, and a real estate office, all of which service the community. The other thing you got to realize is the main entrance to that facility is off Hastings Way. So it's not a main entrance off of this. There's a secondary entrance on 123, but the main entrance with their sign is off Hastings Way with a left-hand turn signal that takes you out of the traffic flow. So it's very different from this parcel. And the other thing that I wanted to indicate is these are the houses all along 123. Each of these are basically, if you noticed here, these are 30,000 square foot lots. Each of these, all along 123. And basically, as you know, these are also, I think this is Bernie and Phil's, and that's where it's industrial going on. But all the way up and all the way around this whole area, going all the way down this way, it's all residential. The only thing you have is Red Mill Crossing, there's a cemetery next to it. But just going back to this, the other thing was, this is 274 East Main Street. That was done by a comprehensive permit. So basically the town, even though it was zoned commercial, with the approval of the town, they basically recharacterized that piece of land as residential. And it's not temporary, that's a permanent designation for it. The only commercial space is left here in the corner, right next to Leonard Street. And again, as was pointed out, the entrance to this is going to be so problematic. You had someone talking about problems with truck traffic coming down Newland Street already. You're going to be adding new truck traffic with this development to this parcel. And then finally, in the Leonard Street property, they basically reduced their site by 130,000 square feet, adding over, I think it's 160 new parking spaces with final mile trucks, 60 trucks twice a day. So this traffic is going to get crazy, and especially around Newland Street, which is having an automatic left-hand turn. So you're looking as a board, forget about even spot zoning. As a board, you're looking to recommend as a basis for this town that this should be commercial in light of all of that's going on around here. We have, I've given you basically, the level of service for this left-hand turn. When they did that information, they never even counted in the White Street traffic. And that's been brutal. We've had trucks going the wrong way, driving into the front porch of one of the houses. So how can the board basically, just looking at this is this really looking at everything equally, is this really where you want to contemplate having a commercial space at this point in time? Forget about spot zoning.
Hey, Warren, can I ask you about process on special permit?
Yeah.
Commercial doesn't typically require special permit, does it?
No.
So the special permit is because it was non-conforming?
40B.
No, for a 55 and over commercial space, 55 and over was a special permit.
Just because it was 55 and over, not because it was in commercial?
Right, but the other one, this property was a 40B, which is a 40B, which is a comprehensive permit.
That's past though, like AJ's and, right, that's south of it.
No, this is right, this is next, across from Kingsbury Hill. So this is basically right adjacent to our property. And
Is that section that you have with the lines there, is that the East Main Street apartments?
Yeah, number 2. This is all East Main Street apartments. There's 188 units here. That's 153 units here. From this area to this area, there are 460 residential units. That's including Kingsbury Hill. There's another development over here. This is all residential. And so for you to say, well, I'd like to stick something here commercial, doesn't fit with any kind of comprehensive plan for this area. The fact that this is industrial is something very different. And this is industrial, and this is commercial. And ideally, I think when the town started, they wanted to see this area developed as commercial, but you guys gave that up. When you said, I want to give you a special permit, you're looking to get it developed. And in doing that, you created this. And there were people that testified at the last hearing before the planning board that lived in this area. They said when they moved in, they checked zoning, and this area was supposed to be residential. And that's why they bought their property. At some point, the town has to take recognition of the fact this has been this way for 40 years. It hasn't been developed. And suddenly someone's going to come in after these people bought a house, relying on our map that said this is going to be residential. And because it was obviously a small street, and certainly they wouldn't want to live there if it was commercial. And they rely on it. And the town has to take recognition of that. I can understand, you talk about a Leonard Street development for industrial. That has a real town basis. There's real need for the town and a comprehensive purpose. The same thing with this property. And that's why the Red Mill Village people didn't even oppose it. We realize it's going to be a real problem for us with traffic, but we realize it's in the town's interest. What's the town's interest in developing that property? And I suggest there is none.
So, and I think that's part of the crux of the issue, Warren, is that this is not a quote-unquote municipal town decision. This is a petition by the residents, which they're fully allowed to do, and then it comes before town meeting. This is not something that I understand the town is actively looking to develop. I share concerns about what this could possibly be developed in a way that would make sense for both the community and any business that would want to go there. However, the fact remains that it's the right of the Drains to request this rezoning as any other lot could do. We've heard everything. I'm open to any motions that anyone want to make.
I don't doubt it's the Drains' right to do that. I'm just questioning whether the board needs to endorse it, because I don't mind going to a town and making my arguments myself, but coming up against a town's endorsement, people come to this board with not a lot of information. I'm advised I can't even do a video presentation at the town, at the next town meeting. So really, I'm at a disadvantage. And if I go into it basically having to oppose the selectmen who say they should do it, people understand that you have more information than they could ever have. And it really puts me at a disadvantage when I think it's really not saying the right thing for the town at this point to endorse it. Whether it happens or not, I'll take my shot. But going against the select board's recommendation would tell me as a normal resident that there's something I'm missing and that it should happen. And I think that puts me and the residents of Redwood Village at a real disadvantage.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion. I would like to make a motion to reconsider the support of Article 18, the petition article of Lucille Drain for the annual town meeting warrant.
So moved.
Second.
All right.
Jack, for discussion?
Yep, go ahead, Renee.
What was I going to bring up? I lost my train of thought when Michael did that.
All right.
No, that's okay. So I was, or just from the perspective here, and you'll see, you know, how I vote. It is a resident who's petitioning this. I think any resident has the ability to do that. And I think, you know, as a constituent that it's at least my responsibility that I allow that to come forward and have discussion at town meeting. What I would advise you to do, you know, you can't do a video at town meeting, but certainly reach out to the Norton Media Center if you wanted to put something together to get it out to the community to better understand what this is and your concerns and the concerns of the other folks that are living at Red Mill. And that's all I wanted from a discussion point.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to reconsider. We'll go to the vote. Christine?
Clarification. It is a yes vote means you are supporting it. A no vote means you are not supporting it, correct?
A yes vote means that we would reconsider the vote that we previously had.
It's not revoting. That's a separate. This is just reopens the ability to vote.
Okay.
So Christine?
Yes.
Meg?
No.
Michael?
Aye.
Renee?
No.
I say yes. So that motion to reconsider carries 3-2. So now becomes a motion to either support and endorse the article, or actually that is the motion and we'll vote. So Chair to entertain a motion. Oh, Christine, ask away. Yes.
May I get it? Okay, thank you. Just a point of clarification for other petitions that come on the town, excuse me while I'm thinking as I'm speaking, other petitions that come on like this, is it always a custom for the select board to vote for approval? Is that just how it's always been?
Support.
Yes, yeah, in vote of support. Is that a customary thing?
It's definitely something we've done the 2 years that I've been here. Mike, you can advise if that's something that's been a long-standing piece.
So that is something the board obviously can do. Just so everyone knows that town meeting is presented with the finance committee recommendations. And the finance committee will ask the planning board to read their report. So town meeting will be, the article will be moved by the finance committee and they will express their recommendation, and then the planning board will speak on their recommendation. The planning board, the select board is can obviously give an opinion on any article, but that's not what goes forward with the town meeting.
Okay, can I just add an opinion as an outsider coming in new? This doesn't seem, because now it seems like we're pitting ourselves. It's the drains versus Red Mill Village. That's at least what it seems like, plus versus all other residents who don't have a stake in this. And I don't feel comfortable, I don't know if I can do this, but I don't feel comfortable adding any approval, I don't want to say I'm against it. I don't want to say I'm for it. I just want to sit there and say, your legal right is to have it on the town warrant. And I don't think the select board should be saying we support it or don't support it. We should just be doing what we can't, what the law allows. Yeah.
Oh, no. But remember too, so here's the thing. I'm like, my affirmative vote is not to say that, yes, I think this should be changed. My affirmative vote is that, we own the warrant. Yes, I believe it should be on the warrant, and I think that it needs to be discussed at town meeting.
That's not, it's going to be there anyways, Renee. You're supporting it.
It is, but I'm supporting it to be discussed at town meeting.
But no, I think the motion was, and tell me if I'm wrong, it's to the support of the article. So that would mean, the support of the article does not mean that you didn't, the support of the article means that you discussed it and that you feel that you support it.
So perhaps a better phrase would be to support the article being on the warrant. I think I share that perspective with Renee, that is what our endorsement means, and then each of us are free to vote whatever our personal thing is. And I see you disagree with that, which is fair.
Yeah, because guess what? You don't have a choice, but this board doesn't have a choice for it to be on the warrant. Guess what? We don't have that choice.
We don't have a choice to remove it.
We can't remove it. We can't remove it.
Right, I know.
Goes both ways.
We can't remove it, but by us voting on it would mean that we're supporting the article. Because it's already, this is different than other articles. By us saying we support it means that we support the concept of the change, not it being on the warrant.
Yeah, that's how I understood it as well. That's why I'm a little confused. If it has to be on here, why as a select board do we even need to say we support it being on there if it has to be on there? We could have our own personal opinions on what the actual issue is, changing it to commercial. We could support it, but I feel like that's our own personal issues, because now it could show that we're siding with certain residents over other residents, and I don't want to give that idea to people. That's my only
any decision we make, Christine, some people are going to agree with us and some people aren't. So that's kind of what happens anyway. I mean, I can tell you in this particular one, based on what town council said, that they don't believe it's spot zoning, and by looking at its proximity to that section of AJ's and Kelly's, I personally support the change and I support the article being on there. That's me.
Yeah, I think my person, we're getting deep into the philosophical meaning of what it means for a select board to endorse something, and I was not prepared for that tonight. I'll be honest.
Sorry.
No, this is good. This is new perspectives. Yeah, I think each of us has our own personal views about what could or should be done there, and obviously the article is going to be there. Trying to thread the eye of the needle in a hurricane, I would entertain a motion to not make a recommendation on this article and to let it go with just the FinCom recommendation.
Motion.
There was a motion to reconsider though, Jack.
Yeah,
that already passed, Michael.
That already passed. Okay, now we're into.
But I think, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, it's a motion to reconsider the initial vote. So it would be the same language. I don't think we can change that. We would just have to vote no if you don't agree with it.
Right, you're reconsidering your support, so you either make a motion usually you do the positive, so someone would make a recommendation to support continue to support, I guess. And that opens it up, and then you can vote no if you just don't want to support.
Or abstain.
Right. Or abstain.
So at this point, we are pot committed to either recommending or not recommending, or possibly ending up in a split vote.
Right.
All right. So the eye of that needle was champed closed by the jaws of fate. So I think we are.
How was that?
I just. Come on. I like words. So I don't see any way around this other than saying Chair would entertain a motion to support Article 18, the rezoning of the drain property.
And I believe, Jack, now it's 17.
Was it Article
Mike,
17?
correct me if I'm wrong, but I think
It's 17, but it will now be 16 because you removed the other article. So
follow the bouncing article. Okay.
So Jen, good luck with just writing that it's to support the petition of the Lucille Drain to amend Norton zoning bylaws.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and we will go to the vote. And to be clear, you can certainly abstain from this as well. So, Christine?
Abstain.
All right, Meg?
No idea what I'm voting on at this point.
So if it's a yes, we'll put the it's a yes vote signals an endorsement of the article or support of the article on the warrant, or
Yes, I vote yes.
okay. Michael?
Nay.
Renee?
Yes.
Comes down to me. I said earlier my opinion changed. I'll stick with that. I'm a no. So we ended in a tie. So we can say a 2-2 to 1, Mike, I guess.
The motion does not carry.
So the motion is we have no vote. I don't know how that works.
So Mike, I think too, and I know we talked about this before, can we make sure that on each of these that we have the decision? I think that this was the only one actually that wasn't unanimous the last time. We had one no.
Right.
But if we could just be specific with that, how the board voted.
all right, refresh my memory, Jack. What was that vote?
The vote was 2 for support, 2 for no, 1 abstain.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that trip down to my early years of college. I feel like it was just in philosophy. And Oren, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Oren.
And presenting.
Thank you, Oren. Robert rules. He must have been real fun at a party.
Pardon me while I go 62 pages back in our agenda.
Jack, we're going to review all of the articles so that we feel comfortable with them and can get that bad boy signed tonight. Wait, is it, Mike, is this through e-signature? Did you send it? Or
It is.
just it? Okay.
Yep, hello sign, yep. So Article 2 is our typical to authorize the board to accept and enter into contracts for the expenditure of funds allotted by the Commonwealth. This is the Chapter 90 article, as we always call it. This is so we can expend our Chapter 90 funds on road projects. And I'll just go through and then stop me if in Article 3, that's the $25,000 for tree services for the highway department, so they can bring in an outside contractor for some of the larger trees that require a decent sized crane. Article 4 is the water enterprise budget. Article 5 is the sewer enterprise budget. Article 6 is the town-wide budget. Article 7 is to appropriate funds into the capital improvement fund. And that was the 600,000. Article 8 is to this is the capital improvement plan.
Hey, Mike, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Before this is posted, these are all going to change from per sum of money to the actual amount?
All the recommendations, yeah, will be going with the warrant.
But does the actual warrant article change?
No, just the recommendation will be with the article when it's posted.
Now, why do we do it that way? Because it's pretty confusing for a resident to go back and forth.
What I'm told from Lauren is the reason you do it that way is because changes could be made to a motion, but a lot of times you can't change an article once the warrant's signed. So say something happened and the FinCom met after the 7 days and had to change an amount on something, they could do it in their motion, but if you had a certain amount in an article, it could never be changed. So that's generally why the attorneys don't put the amounts in the articles themselves.
Okay, thank you.
Town meeting is really difficult and challenging to manage. I never would have expected that.
And I thought too, in an amendment anyway, if you try to amend it, you're putting it in writing.
Yeah,
So
I think that has to do with, you can go down, but generally can't increase a lot of in an article if there's a certain amount. That's what Lauren has said to us.
Okay.
Article 9 is to rescind previous borrowing that was issued, and that was for our water and sewer project that they did not have to borrow, so we want to rescind that. Then Article 10 is the Reed and Barton article. Article 11 will be removed. Article 12 will become 11, and that's the train project. Article 13 will become 12, and that is the sewer connection for the Yale and the high school if necessary. Article 14 is the changes to the stormwater, which will be 13 now, is the changes to the stormwater bylaw. Now, this could take a while now.
that's a lot of pages.
Jen did a one-pager that I'll make copies of for town meeting.
Come on, get to the pot already.
All right, Article 15, that will be now 14, is amendments to the marijuana establishment bylaw. Whoop. So Article 16, that'll be 15. This is the rezoning of the Mass Highway property on East Main.
Hey, Mike, the bylaw, the marijuana bylaw, how come we never use the wording pending approval of initial bylaw of the Attorney General? How come it wasn't put in there?
Probably just because we expected to have that before now.
Okay. Do you think, I mean, can you add that or no? That doesn't change the context of the article?
No, it wouldn't change at all.
Is it safer to put it in there or not put it in there?
I don't know if it's relevant to put in there.
Why wouldn't it be relevant? The Attorney General hasn't approved the first bylaw.
No, but the town meeting did.
We're changing a bylaw that isn't even approved yet.
It was approved by town meeting, and we sought opinion on that.
Okay.
About whether we could do it or not, and they said yes.
Sorry, Mike.
That's okay. So this Article 17, that'll be 16, is just to amend the zoning map. for the petition of Lucille Drain that we just talked about. And that is it.
We got from 25, what was it 26?
Yeah.
Down to 16.
Not bad. What else can we take off? Let's make this 10.
2 through 16? Be a short meeting.
That's it.
There's nothing really to talk about. It's gonna be quick.
It's easy meeting. All right. Thank you, Mike, for running that down. Any questions? So I don't think we need to form the.
Does anyone know when we got the request to sign? I think I just found it.
Okay.
I think it was last week.
No, it was earlier this week.
Mine shows you, it says yesterday.
It all blends together.
Yeah. Send reminders after a certain amount of time. So. Okay. So Mike, this is not something we need to formally vote on, right? It's all just based on the signatures on the warrant. So.
Yep.
Okay. Sounds good.
So Mike, do you send out a new one with the new numbers, the reordering of it?
I will send that to you, sure. Your signature's fine. We'll just attach it, but we'll send you the updated warrant.
Okay, so we just sign what we have. We don't worry about the numbers?
Right.
I saw your signature on there already, Meg.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's why I was curious what we're re-signing.
Will we be able to get a copy of all the updated warrants before, so we can have like a hard copy? Because I don't know the town meeting. I don't want to sit there with a laptop. I'd rather just have like this giant document that I've been amending. So we could have Jen like print us one before.
Sure.
Okay. Somewhere between 1 and 1,500 copies available today.
Yeah. That'll be, go see the box.
I'll make sure I'm not the 1501 that doesn't get one.
Yeah, so maybe this is a good segue, Mike, to the conversation that we had earlier with Walter, Lucia, and Lauren.
Yep. Yeah, we did have a conversation today on town meeting. And one of the things we talked about was how many warrants we thought we'd have to print. And we're looking at 1,500 to print. And then if possible, we'll also make an arrangement with the school department. If we ever had to go into the high school and print some more, we could. The other major discussion was on how the field will be set up, and it will be set up in sections. And Jack, refresh my memory whether we said people will be sitting by precinct or not. I think
that was going to be the ask, at least to try to get most people there, understanding that precinct 2 is, I think, the largest by population. So it may be some spillover into some of the adjacent ones.
Right.
Can I ask, is it possible to do like the QR or whatever the code thing is that you get at restaurants? Couldn't we?
That
was suggested. I forget, Jack, who suggested that?
I don't know, but he's dashingly handsome and has an amazing beard.
Why can't we do that?
You still need to have physical copies available.
Yeah.
Not everyone has a smartphone, especially a good number of folks that tend to come to town meeting most reliably. So we're going to try to pilot this program with the QR big QR posters that you can see at the mass vaccination site at Gillette. So people who are so inclined can grab an electronic copy and not need a paper.
So we are going to do it for this, but we still have to print out copies, is what you're saying. Yeah.
I don't think any of us would suggest that 100% digital would be the right way to go. But
I don't think we need 1,500 copies. That seems crazy to me.
I actually thought that we'd have more people than 1,500 given the size of the project.
Agreed. Renee, I think it's going to be close to 2,000.
I don't know, because anyone who voted no that doesn't want to be publicly acknowledged as voting no, which I know there are many of them, won't show up.
Yeah.
So the no people have lost a lot of people.
Well, and we hope people will, couples that come in, maybe they'll only take one warrant, but we'd rather be safe than sorry. So
I think
it doesn't
A lot of
cost that
waste.
much more to.
No, I know, it's just such a waste in the.
I know.
Part of it, Lucia's gonna have probably one of the worst days in recent memory, and I say this, and she had a terrible 2020 in terms of all the elections that had to go through. So anything that we can do to avoid her needing to wrangle her staff to need to go print off additional warrants, a drop of a hat. I don't know if there's any other pieces of that conversation that we want to get into. I think one of the ones that was recommended by Walter was, I guess, former town meetings would start with an announcement of when the meeting would adjourn. Work would finish on the article being presented, and then it would be continued to such and such a date. I think that makes sense, especially for a Saturday. I would propose somewhere between around 5 o'clock would be a cutoff time to allow people to leave and get home in time for dinner, and not get too mad at us, and then we can reconvene for a date that we decide. Or Walter's going to need to be involved in that, or actually no, the deputy moderator will need to be involved.
Hey, Mr. Chair, I know we're still talking about town meeting, but I am so sorry. I wanted to, one of the things that came on, I wanted to just introduce James Jarden. He was new water. I thought it was going to be on the agenda. I don't think it is. He's one of the new commissioners of the Water Commission. He just wanted to bring him on to introduce himself. And I didn't see him until like right now. I wanted him earlier in the evening. So I'm curious if he's even, did he just jump off? Oh, there you go.
No, he's there.
I'm here. Hi, everybody.
I am so sorry, James.
Don't be, no problem at all. I'm having fun just watching.
Oh, jeez.
So I just wanted to just congratulate Mr. Jarden on his election to the Water Commission. And I actually spoke with him and Mr. Bishops, and hopefully we're bringing in a new relationship with the Select Board and the Water Commission that has always been full of debate. I don't even know what the words he used, but
Contentious.
we're
That's
actually
the word I was thinking.
I'm sorry, Meg, I was talking, I didn't hear.
Contentious. My son's taking the SATs next week,
There
so.
we go. So, James, you can just kind of tell us why you got on board, why you got on, and all that good stuff, and maybe a little bit about yourself.
Well, a little bit about me. I've lived in the town for about 10 years. I've worked in Norton for about 20 years. My background is actually in air. So this is a bit of a learning curve for me. I do air emissions testing. We climb smokestacks and we test at power plants and various places like that. Some places we test are actually wastewater treatment facilities. Those that have sludge burners have emissions that we have to test. So I'm a little familiar with that end of things. But I have been not involved in Norton town government at all, ever. And honestly, what really kind of sort of was the catalyst in getting me interested was the charter mailer that I got in the mail about 6 weeks back. I wasn't really even aware that was going on, but I read through that whole pamphlet and it just kind of got me interested in wanting to get involved. And I'm kind of at a point in my life where I don't really have anything else going on, and I was kind of looking at it, and I just got real interested in wanting to be involved, and looking at the lack of participation got me to even more wanting to get involved. I was going to wait for the election to happen and then try to get involved after, and I was talking to a lot of friends of mine, some of them in Mansfield government, and one of them was like, why don't you make yourself a sign and go out there and run for the Water Sewer Commissioner and get involved right away. And I got to looking at it and thinking about it, it just kind of made sense. So this was about 3 days before the election that I decided to do that. So I made myself a sign, I ran out there and went for it and got it. And I'm excited to find out all the wonderful things I'm getting myself into. I know there's a lot going on with water and sewers in Norton. So I'm excited to be involved, and I'm just looking forward for the experience.
Excellent. Well, thank you for your
Appreciate
interest.
you stepping up.
Good luck, Tim.
It was a lovely sign too.
Thank you very much, Christine. And I would like to, if I have a chance, to throw congratulations back to you and Megan as well for winning your elections.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks.
Thank you,
everybody.
James.
All right. Well, I tried to jerk this train back on track. We were talking about town meeting.
Jack, may I ask a random question? Not random, it's about town meeting, it's about the warrants, the 1,500 that are printed. Just because we were designated a green community, where there'll be recycling bins for those who are upset and just want to get rid of their paper.
I think
Why would they want to be why would they be upset though to get rid of it? Why not be happy to get rid of it?
I have no idea. Some people are just the way they are. I just didn't know if that's like a commonplace thing or we don't, but just because we were designated a green community, I don't want it to seem like, I don't know.
I'm pretty
We
sure
don't care.
if the request went to Wade, he can make that happen for us.
Paper's always recycled, yep. We all do it.
Thank you.
Do we have that many bins?
Usually it ends up in my car and back in the recycled bin at the back of the town hall.
Someone will throw a match into it and then it'll go, it defeats the whole green purpose. Really.
Well, could we pivot to this to some sort of like fundraising bonfire? Is Melanie still on? Perhaps this is asking for
All right.
Yeah.
Of course, as the restrictions are listed, I don't see her on anymore.
So what you're saying, Jack, is you want to cut down the trees and then release the
toxins
carbon into the atmosphere? You can just go for the double-edged non-green effect.
Bringing people back together to socialize during, at the safe point in the pandemic.
What was that, Meg? I'm sorry.
I said, I think Melanie's watching the NFL draft, which is going on right now, just FYI.
Oh, that's right.
If that wasn't a hint, Jack, I don't know what was.
Well, so while you're off the agenda here, but something that's on the agenda can come into play here. How about, just in case, setting a rain date for the town meeting in case Saturday is a rainy day?
We did set a rain date.
The following week, I thought.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
15, okay, same time.
I guess for the sake of the record, Chair entertain a motion to set the rain date for the annual town meeting and the special town meeting to Saturday, January 5th, May 15th at 1 p.m. for the annual 1:15.
2010.
So moved, squared.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second, and I need a calendar. Christine?
Yes.
Meg?
Yes.
Michael?
Aye.
All right, so we'll take that one off.
Hello, Jeff?
Renee?
Oh, me, yes.
And
I
you?
too am, yes. I'm sorry, I jumped.
Yes.
Meg's got me thinking about the draft, so I'm going faster than I
Oh,
know.
some big things are happening. Can't you hear the scream? That's why I keep muting myself. I hear screams in the other room, so.
We get
Did we get a quarterback?
Garoppolo?
I don't know. I'm on the town meeting.
Somebody should be
We did not make the
texting.
trade. We did not make the trade. We're still at 15.
Don't worry about this at all.
Thanks, Mike.
Mike,
I'll
you
add that
just
to
keep
my
bringing
list of
bad
things.
news.
It's 10 days away. It could be wrong.
Just watch Peter J. Wiggins further. Complete weather forecast.
All right.
Peter, can you get us an NFL draft forecast or update?
Oh, let's not go down that path, man. We'll be surprised when we're all over.
Does anyone know where we are in this agenda?
I do. I'm steering
Maybe
this
we
leaky
really need to
draft.
go back to the reorganization of the select board.
Hey.
What is that about? I'm curious.
That is, go Jeff.
Oh,
I
so
think
I
Jack's
just want to finish that whole
distracted now.
business. No, I'm trying to get us back on track.
Whole business is
At
done.
least for a little while longer. I'm steering this leaky draft and I'm trying to get us to port.
Mr. Chairman, I have a quick question before we move on. Is our job as members of the select board to keep you off track and then you keep us back on track and it's just this constant thing? Just for the record?
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you.
symbiotic relationship. So we have discussed and or vote on public meetings regarding temporary COVID-19 protocols.
No, I was coming back with a version and I don't have a version. If I said to put it on this meeting, I apologize.
All right. Moving off of that topic, we'll jump back to new business. The first of which is the reorganization of the board. And to answer Meg's question, this is typically something that is done after elections, where the board can determine who the chair, vice chair, and clerk are. For typically it's the next year, but honestly, this can be done at any point, at anyone's request. So open to discussion on who the new select board officers should be.
Mr. Chair, I just have a question, clarification question.
Sure.
Okay, so you said typically after elections,
Yep.
you guys change chairs?
Yeah, then we go through the
reorganization. I'm sorry, reorganization. Okay. For future, just throwing it out there, it seems, and I think Meg can feel this too, we don't know a lot. Not that we don't want to step up, but we don't know a lot. I think for future, not being right now, if you don't want to do it now, it should not be within a month after the election because we don't know enough. I think something around changing, doing reorganization after fall town meeting sounds like a better option, in my opinion, or even just over the summer, something not a month after. Just throwing that out there.
Okay. Yeah, this is one of the few things that is 100% within our control to determine the timing of. I'm open to any discussion on this.
And Christine, I'll add to that. One of the reasons it's done after the new members are elected is because oftentimes the previous members could have held those positions and you need to refill them. So it's kind of like standard practice. We did the same thing on the EDC once we had a full group. You just put up and you could vote. I mean, the EDC, it was, we re-voted the same president. I think we switched the vice chair and the clerk. But that's within our purview, but that's why it happens.
I would like to make a motion to appoint Jack Conway as the chair of the select board.
So moved.
Second.
Oh wait, he moved that, so I second it, or Mike can just second it.
We have a couple motions in a second, and I appreciate that. Anyone else for nominating chair? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. Christine?
Yes.
Meg? Sorry, yes.
Are you muted?
Oh, no, I'm not muted, yes.
Michael?
Aye.
Renee?
Yes.
And I too, I'll say sure, thank you. I appreciate that support. I will try to continue to pepper these meetings with terrible humor and at least somewhat keeping us moving forward.
I move to reconsider that vote.
or get out of roll or something.
I would like to make one suggestion. When we, after town meeting, obviously, we get through all this, is to think about, well, A, when can we return to in-person meetings, but B, to really just think about, we've got to come up with a better way to organize our meetings. And I don't know if it's pre-prep or whatever, but the president of the United States doesn't talk on Zoom for 5 hours with national security issues. So I'm not sure why we are in the town of Norton. I'm just saying, I just think there's got to be a better way. I was on the finance committee during the spring break or the April break, and it was boom, 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 done, out of there. It was just amazing. So I just want to say, we just need to think of a better way. I know we're different, but there's got to be a better way. That's my 2 cents.
Did I just hear Mike Unit second?
And I think way back when meetings were weekly, probably for that purpose, right? Because there's a lot of town issues. The struggle is definitely this time of year when we are in multiple meetings a week, right? Like
yeah, but it's been like multiple
since you
meetings.
joined.
Right, well, I know. Multiple meetings per week, every week. So I'm sort of like flabbergasted.
Yeah.
There's gotta be a better way, but we'll figure it out.
I agree.
Yeah, I think all of our home life balances would benefit from some tighter meetings, fewer of them. So it's a good ideal for the next term. So
Reorganization, Jack.
yes, thank you, Michael. So that still leaves vice chair and clerk. So I would like to nominate Michael Toole for vice chair.
Second.
Oh, thank you. Any other interest in that position? So I did speak with Renee prior to this to see if she would be interested in taking on. So this is not a coup, just to be clear.
I was actually going to say not it when you first said it. Clarify that.
All right, we'll go to the vote. Christine?
Yes.
Meg? Sorry, yes. Michael?
Yes.
Renee?
Thank you.
Yes.
And I too am yes. Congratulations, Michael. Look forward to
Thank you
working
very
with you.
much.
So that leaves the clerk position. So Michael, as the most recent clerk, do you want to talk a little bit about what it entails? Because that tends to be the most mysterious of the roles.
Yes, you've got to, and that pretty much covers the job. No, staying on announcements, I would say is the most important part of the job. And in executive sessions without a recording secretary, you're responsible for the minutes.
It's Christine, to your kind of point about not knowing anything, it's a good position to take on initially, because it forces you into it a little bit more.
When you said the thing about the announcements, I was like, I always have announcements just sitting around, but I'm not saying anything else.
So then,
Clark sounds like here.
I move to vote Christine.
Second.
Is the motion? Yeah.
Motion and a second to appoint.
Should have been on mute, I guess.
So we'll go to the vote. Christine?
Yes, thank you.
Meg?
Yes.
Renee?
yes.
Michael?
Aye.
And I too say yes. Congratulations, Christine, and welcome aboard.
Thanks, team.
All right. That matter done. We have the vote to designate a member of Select Board. Since that's me again, Mike, does that initial thing still carry?
Yeah, that's fine. As long as you're willing to do that, you don't need to change that.
We don't need to change it even though we have new members. We don't need to revote.
Not unless the people that are doing it right now don't want to do it.
Well, I think I was listed as the second person.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would entertain a motion to, typically it's the vice chair, so I'd entertain a motion to appoint Michael Toole as the alternate member of the Select Board to approve all warrants when the designee is unavailable to fulfill this function.
Jack, you might just want to clarify for that you're the designee. So we could just vote on both.
Yes, sure. Chair, entertain a motion to designate myself as the Select Board member to approve all warrants, and to designate Michael Toole as the alternate member to approve all warrants when the designee, being me, is unavailable to fill this function.
Seconded.
Well,
so moved.
So moved, sorry.
Oh, Mike's going to tell us we did it wrong.
Nope, that's right. I just wanted to make sure that Michael was making that as a motion.
Okay. Excellent. Christine?
Yes.
Wait, did we get a second on record?
I think you were the second, weren't you?
That's what I thought.
Okay, perfect. I just want to make sure.
All right. So Meg? Sam's muted.
You're muted.
I am, and that was my dog started barking, yes.
All right, Renee,
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
Mike,
Aye.
and I too am yes. All right. Thank you, Bill. All right, we already set the rain dates. We talked about the Water Sewer Commission. We do have an open position. I just happened to be chatting with Bill Maher, who was our previous appointee, who ran into some difficulties. He has, again, expressed interest in fulfilling that role. I don't know where precisely that stands since he was appointed, but didn't finish anything. Michael, I see some fingers.
Yeah, so, Jack, to that, he was appointed, was sworn in, did not finish the ethics process, but his term, he was actually supposed to be, his term expired on April 30th, well, tomorrow. So he would have to resubmit a letter. If I'm not, Mike, tell me if I'm wrong here. He'd have to resubmit a letter to us. We'd have to appoint him, and then he would have to be on the next, there was some confusion about the election date. He would be on next April, Michael?
Right.
So I thought his term ended at the election. I thought all terms ended at the election.
So Renee, his election, he was supposed to be elected. He
was appointed, right?
He was appointed.
So as
He was
an
appointed.
appointee, your term ends at the next election, if you don't rerun.
No, Renee, let me think if I can just point out, he was supposed to be on the ballot last election. That position was never placed on the ballot.
Did he put in to be placed on the ballot?
He did not, but nor did the clerk recognize 2 spots. So it's this situation where the automatic termination of the position would happen because it would expire. And that person can renominate, we can renominate that, appoint that person. And then they would fall on the next election ballot.
So you're saying on the ballot, there was only one position to be voted?
Correct.
Yep, that is.
That's why this is extended to April 30th.
Correct. Otherwise, it would have ended at the date of the election.
Gotcha.
And this would involve a joint meeting for a reappointment, correct?
Correct.
And wouldn't we also post this as well to see if there are any other interested folks?
Correct.
Yep, we should do that. All right, Mike, new coordinate posting for that. I'll reach out to Bill and let him know that he'll need to reapply.
Okay, and would you do this at your April 13th meeting? May 13th.
I don't know. Would we, Mike?
Jack, we're having trouble with dates tonight. The May 13th meeting? Would that be long enough?
That gives 2 weeks. Can you post it that quickly?
I would prefer to give this a bit more time. I don't think there's any urgency that seat's been unfilled for majority of a year, so getting some time to make sure.
Probably a first meeting in June.
That works for me.
Jack, I'd also suggest that at town meeting, we make an announcement about the open position as well. I know that was done at a previous town meeting for planning board vacancies.
Could we actually make up a flyer to include with the warrant about ways to get involved? Flipping through
another 1,500 pages.
Oh, or at least have maybe a poster up there, because there's a number of vacancies across a number of boards and committees that most people, myself included, had no idea about.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest, the only way I found out about the Economic Development Commission was my friend's mom saw it in the newspaper and said, you should do this. And here I am. So there should be some sort of an announcement, or like you said, a poster board, like people see it as they walk in. I think that would be fantastic to help people get involved.
Maybe we can do another QR code back to the website.
Yeah, a QR would be good, and perhaps something that's like I don't know, monthly or quarterly update about what seats are available. I mean, when you get down to some of these more targeted committees, there's only 1 or 2 folks that are on there, and 6 or 7 open seats on some. But if we are making a push on this, I would like to ask, and I don't know who necessarily I'm asking, that we better the onboarding process for appointees, similar to what we heard from Mr. Marr. He didn't get some of his materials. There was a gentleman who had volunteered for the Michael Harrington with the ADA Commission, was not able to get any traction with the individuals he needed to, and one of them was an existing member. I think that there's some interesting things that I think need to
I agree, maybe that we can always approve our processes, but just, I take a little offense to Mr. Marr saying he did not receive this when the town clerk made extraordinary efforts beyond what's normal to get him his information, and he just refused, calling and sending them that information, and he just refused to respond to them. So I understand all processes can be approved, but I don't want to beat people up when they went beyond the call of duty to try to get him that information.
Okay. I was speaking from, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I was just gonna say, maybe, to add on to improvements, why don't, we have a number of boards and committees and commissions that we are the appointing authorities. Like, I mean, they're listed in a town meeting, right? In that town meeting report, it's like in the first couple pages. So I think we can also direct people to that to look at them and become familiar, but maybe it's worth us taking groups of them each meeting and, reaching out to the chairs to come and say, what do you need? How are you positioned? How are the meetings? Do you have people who aren't attending? Because I think there is a bylaw, it might not be a bylaw, for people who are on these different public bodies and they're not attending, that they be automatically removed after like not attending 3 meetings, right? Because it may seem like some of them are filled, but they don't have active participants. So maybe it's worth us kind of taking more of a leadership role and getting them in and seeing how we can support them.
There are, in the chart, I just recently went through this within the last few days. The charter does allow removal of appointed positions, but not elected positions. Elected positions need to go through a recall process. But to your point, Renee, if there are people that are holding up seats on an appointed position, there are protocols of removing those people that we can kind of review.
And Mike is showing us that we don't know what we're talking about, and there's already a spot on the website. Which
We've talked about this before.
Yeah, but I think we need to make it more. Push it out there a bit more.
The other thing, I want to go back to like the education piece of this, because when I first moved to town 20 years ago, I joined the historical commission, and again, that was a long time ago, and the way that the meeting was conducted was not conducive for a working mom, and so and there was no room for there was no ability for me to be able to be effective and try and work around my schedule. I'm just thinking, I think at some point, if we want to attract more people to serve on the town committees, I think we have to really talk to the chairs of these committees and really get a sense on, I don't know, there should be some kind of like volunteer training, or like you do it at other places. I just think we're throwing people in positions, no one really knows what they're doing. And then when you finally do get someone attracted to a committee, if it's run poorly, people are like, I don't have time for this. So I think we can do a little bit more on the back end to help when they do attract people. I mean, obviously you still got to attract people, but that was just my initial introduction to Norton politics was not very favorable.
I think I heard something similar from Mr. Harrington.
Mr. Chair, is there a way that we could do like a special meeting after town meeting with us being the leaders and invite any and all members of current commissions and committees and have just kind of like an open discussion with them? So we can work as like or maybe not all the members, if you want to do just the chairs and vice chairs and clerks, talk with them, have an open discussion about what we want to do to work better with them. Like you said, like our members not showing up. Is that a problem? Like, do you only have 2 people who constantly show up and constantly do things? Or do you only have 2 people and you need more people? Like, what ways can we help them and have more like an open discussion? I don't know if that's possible to do like a special meeting that's not just like a part of our, call a meeting, but it's not one of our, 2-week, bi-weekly meetings.
First of all, great idea. I like it. Second idea, Mr. Chair was my father. You can call me Jack.
Okay, sorry.
That's all right. It's one of those bad jokes you signed up for another term. Sorry. Yeah, I mean, anyone can call a meeting for just about any time for something like that. If it's a specific interest to a subset of the members and there's less than 3, they can hold that without needing to post it publicly. I don't know how that trickles down, Mike, to some of the other appointed boards where there's maybe 1 or 2 members. So a simple presence of one of them constitutes a quorum. I don't know who is applicable under OML.
So 3-member boards, there aren't too many. Water and sewer and assessors and Board of Health. I can't think of any. Well, zoning has an alternate. I can't think of too many. Most of them are more.
So, but I think the issue is some of these have a number of vacant positions.
Okay.
Yeah, up until Mr. Jordan was appointed, the bishop was a walking quorum with 1.
So the best bet at this point would just be to post it, right? Yep. Post it as a joint meeting for those, with those other smaller groups, like the water sewer, because 1 would be quorum. Yep. Actually, can 1 be a quorum? I don't even know.
No, it's the loneliness number, but I don't know if it can be a quorum.
I'm gonna throw this out for another meeting, because I definitely want to go watch the NFL draft at some point. But is that I know at the Kennedy School at Harvard, like we actually would work with local municipalities free of charge and throw out our students to solve some current issues that you're working on, whether it be a budget issue or this and that. So there are opportunities. I'm sure there's other places, not just the Kennedy School, but other places that we could utilize sort of that student, that grad school free experience for their experiential learning, but also just to help us grapple with some town issues. So
yeah, and Meg, to add to that, EAG's office does it too, and they have a specific section for community engagement that we can tap into, and they can help.
That goes along to even like training of volunteer boards.
Yeah.
So another night, another discussion.
Indeed.
I think that would be a great announcement for the new clerk at one of the future meetings.
Absolutely. So, Christine, I suggest you work with Mike on that. Pick a date when that works. I fully support it. I'll do whatever I can. Trying to bring this in so we can all watch the draft.
You're doing a great job, Jeff.
Well, you don't like the draft, I don't think. Okay. Do you?
I think
have
by
work to
draft
do,
you
so-
mean the Red Sox game, but
Fair enough. Regardless, it's now time for the town manager's report, and we'll have Mike speaking like that.
We're 2 picks away, guys. Let's pick this up.
All right.
Come on.
Norton has been designated as a green community in the Commonwealth, making us eligible to receive a grant of a $1 value that Michael will share.
Sure. So the town, our initial grant is, we have $173,322 available. And I did include in your packet our energy reduction plan that we developed with Serpent. We did speak with Lisa Sullivan from the state this week, and we'll be putting a meeting together in the future with Lisa, our energy consultant, and also Serpent to look at our energy reduction plan and where they think we could apply some of the grant money. So, and this will continue I know Lisa Sullivan from the state had said that like Bridgewater has received over $1 million so far in energy grants over the last few years. So this will be a continuing process as we go forward. Each year there'll be more grant money available. So it's a good program the state puts on, and it'll be a great benefit to the town.
This reminds me that we should not forget about the Community Preservation Act, the work that that group had done to make that recommendation. I know in light of the pandemic it was pulled off, but there's definitely some value and there's some synergy between this, and that again is a great way to get some investment back in the community.
Is that the Preservation Act or the Reinvestment Act?
The CPA, the Community Preservation Act.
The one that Sharon and Zach had brought forth?
And from Meg and Christine, I don't know if you were present for that, it predated you. The Community Preservation Act is something a community can adopt, and adds a small percentage to the property tax bill that then goes into a specific account that can then get matched by state funds. The group that put this together showed what some of these other communities have been able to do over the years, and it's a substantial amount of money potentially. Perhaps we can take that up and circulate it back around, Mike or Jen, for Mike and for Christine, Michael, and Meg's benefit. All right. We don't need to vote or anything on that, Mike. That's just a.
And I just want to thank the Congressman Austin Kloss. I say that wrong, Michael, all the time.
Austin Kloss.
Okay. They did reach out to us and ask us for any wish list, I guess I'd call it, items similar to the bond bill that the state does. And we did put in a wish list with them for radios for the police department, $52,500. We put in a COA community center, $11,110,000. Walker Street culvert replacement, $850,000. The Reed and Barton demo, $500,000. The replacement of wells 4, 5, and 6, $1,475,000. PFAS treatment mitigation, $2 million, and water main replacement, $8,212,000. So out of all that, it sounds right now like the congressman feels his best chance is with the well replacement 4, 5, and 6. So he's working towards seeing if he can get us any federal funds for that project, which will be a benefit to the ratepayers, and we thank the congressman for that.
All right, thank you, Mike.
Also, there's one item that you forgot, this discuss and vote on public meetings regarding temporary COVID-19 protocols, which I ordered.
Yep, I think Renee was hoping to have something to share on that, Peter, and we're not quite ready. We can certainly discuss that if there's any interest. I think there is a push to resume in-person meetings. I know the school committee is doing that. I've seen other places doing them at least in a hybrid fashion. I don't know what everyone's comfort factor is.
I think we addressed that at the last meeting, Jack. So I prefer just to take those comments given the time and put something together to bring back to the board. If we didn't have 3 meetings a week and I didn't have vacation in between there, it probably would have been done.
And Renee, I did reach out to some of the boards, and I've gotten some emails back. I'll send you those.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Select board report and mail. Anyone have anything they'd like to share?
I'll defer to next meeting.
All right. Seeing nothing, we'll go to warrants and minutes. So I have approved payroll warrant PR 21-22 for the week ended April 17, 2021. Warrant dated April 22nd, 2021, in the amount of $1,501,712.95. Invoice warrant AP 21-43, dated April 22nd, 2021, in the amount of $923,593.42. And invoice warrant AP 21-44 dated April 29, 2021 in the amount of $264,172.85. I think if I recall correctly, the larger sum on that second invoice or that first invoice warrant was due to health insurance premiums. On to the minutes. I'd very much like to clear out as many of these as possible. Unless anyone has any specific objections. I've read up to and including March 29th and would be prepared to entertain a motion to approve those as presented.
Jack, I'm going to abstain from all of them because I have not had a chance to read them. And the only one I'd ask you to exclude is January 21st because I do have comments. I just haven't had time to get them over. And given that these are all posted, I don't feel the need to rush.
Okay.
Posted as draft. I'll rephrase that.
Motion, Renee, you're going to abstain from that, or you don't want to vote on that?
I would just ask that we don't vote on January 21st because I do have I have updates to that.
Okay.
Yeah, I just haven't written. I did it when I was in town hall one night. There were, I think, just 2 pages I didn't get a chance to complete that night.
Okay.
So I will amend my motion to, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes from March 4, 2021, March 11, 2021, March 15, 2021, March 18, 2021, open session, March 18, 2021, executive session, March 22nd, 2021, and March 29, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. We'll go to the roll. Meg?
Yes.
Renee?
Abstain.
Christine?
Yes.
Michael?
Aye.
And I too will say yes. All right, thank you for that. I believe that brings our meeting to a close. Right now, our next meeting is set for Thursday, May 13th. Mike, do we need to post anything for the morning of town meeting?
Not right now, no.
Okay. So if this is your first time joining us for a town meeting, we typically, I think we're intended to sit on the bleachers, Mike, behind Walter and Lucia.
Yep.
So we check in just the same as any other resident, go through that process, and then once we're through, we can head up to the bleachers. Standard advice. The only thing we don't need to bring is a chair, but I would definitely recommend bringing water, perhaps sunscreen, hopefully not an umbrella, small cooler of sandwiches, and candy to share.
Or just a delivery number of a local establishment. And Jack, it's funny that you mentioned about standing in line because I shot Mike an email earlier and separately. Mike, I don't know if you saw it, but
I saw it.
I said 2 things in that. One is, and I know he's going to follow up. Like I remember the last meeting, which we only had 120-ish people there in the line for that. Like if we need some support to check people in our different entrances. And secondly, I asked, and most importantly, and I'm going to caveat this because of my knee, if the select board gets any line jumping opportunities to bump to the front, check in, and go and sit down in the bleachers.
I think, Jack, Lucia was talking about having 10 people checking in.
Okay.
Yes, she's very much aware of the difficulties that we encountered last time, coupled with the probably 10-fold increase in the number of folks that we're going to have. So we are actually, it's a good segue, we are actively looking for any volunteers that would like to act as poll workers to help check people in and then to help manage any votes that may be happening on the floor. I think she's trying to get at least 10, and if we can get more, more is always better. I believe the only requirement is you need to be a registered voter in town, Mike.
Yes.
I have a question with the new law came out with Charlie Baker. Do we have to wear a mask if we're 6 feet apart? We're outside.
I'll defer that to the Board of Health.
Vaccinated, come on.
We will get vaccinated on May the 3rd. And it's all looking good, and we're almost there to in-person meeting, so we're getting there, and we're at the end.
I think was his directive that if you're 6 feet apart.
Yes, outdoors and with.
Outdoors and 6 feet apart, you don't need
But I think because of the number, because we're gonna be over 250, I think, I don't know, I'm gonna have to correct, surrender to Chris, but there's gonna be more than 250. That guidance is on 250, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is gonna be
Well,
2,000.
remember, we can't, I thought that we had some discussion on this before, right? The town meeting is kind of exempt from those limitations.
Right.
But I think we're also not able to say it's required. Or is that just in elections because of other issues? I know we talked about
this
this.
as well, because this is our form of government. We can't deny entry into
Right.
anyone who's a registered voter. So all we can do is ask.
It's effective as of tomorrow, so I'm just saying, like.
Yeah. Kristen, I was just gonna say, as before, I'm not opposed to people not wearing them, but I would encourage them still to wear them because there are many people who aren't vaccinated yet. And there are also, recommendations about being in large crowds from the CDC that specifically large crowds with, this type of even though it's outside, there's still going to be some close proximity that I would still encourage people to wear them. And only thinking about those who are at higher risk, who may not have been able to get a vaccine or for health reasons maybe can't get it just yet, or they just can't get an appointment. That's my thought.
So let's see what Chris comes back with once he understands the regulations, and perhaps I'm assuming we're going to do at least a few reverse 911 or Norton alerts, and either the mask requirement is not something that's mentioned, or it's something that masks are recommended but not required. I think Chris has gotten us through to this point, so I trust his judgment there. But if you can just keep us in the loop so we know what to expect.
Patriots are on the clock.
All right, Joe, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
That was the fastest one ever. Meg,
Yes.
Renee,
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
Michael,
Aye.
enthusiastically or?
Enthusiastically, listen.
Oh my God, Jack, was it?
I too say yes. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you all.
And
Appreciate it.
Jones.
Thanks, guys. Good night.
Bye.
I've got Mac Jones.
The recording has stopped.